Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
And welcome into the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Mikey McNuggets, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell coming at you on a Thursday afternoon. It was a wild walk-off win home opener for the Guardians, guys. And then yesterday, somehow topped that. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into the Browns. We'll dive into Evan Mobley's DPOY campaign. But first and foremost, guys, how you doing? Tyvis, this is the latest you've ever shown up today.
I beat him.
Yeah, you beat him.
What do you want, a cookie? Did you pee?
I did.
You know, I had a lot going on. My wife's a teacher, online teacher. They have testing, so she tested last week, she's testing this week, and then she's testing next week as well. So before I leave, I got to make sure the kids are set, the dog is fed, the babysitter gets there. So it's just a late start for me.
Is she taking the test or administering them?
Administering.
Yeah, because it's state testing. It must be the same thing because my kids are in. Yesterday, today, they were in all kinds of Ohio State testing.
Yeah, I can't wait till it's over.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad on the teachers. The kids hate it. I'm sure the teachers hate it too.
It's all day. It's every day. Like, it's every day and it's all day. She leaves at like 7 in the morning.
Is this the OGTs?
No.
OST.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, so they've changed it. Okay.
She leaves at like 7 in the morning and then she don't come back till like 3:45, 4 o'clock.
It's a long day. Jason, you feeling better?
Yeah. I had.
You told us on Monday, so.
Did I? No, I didn't. Did I?
Yeah, you did.
I had a colonoscopy on Tuesday, right? Tuesday?
Yeah, it was before the Cavs game.
It was for the cat. No, yeah. So I wake up and they're like, absolutely no work today. Don't do bills. Don't do anything serious. And under no conditions can you drive. I was like, okay. You got it.
Got right in the car.
So my wife drove me home and she's like, you can't go to the opener. I'm like, why not? So I drove downtown, covered the Guardians, covered the Cavs game that night. Yeah, colonoscopies are not fun, man. And I have celiac disease, so I like to joke that I cured myself because I just eat whatever I want. So I just eat around the gluten.
What's wrong with you?
My wife gets so mad at me every time I say that. She goes, you sound like an idiot.
I just eat around the gluten.
I told the doctor who was doing it, I said I cured myself of celiac. I told him that a couple of years ago. He looked at me like I was nuts.
He's not necessarily wrong, for being honest.
But you got to wait till 45 to do that?
I think 40 is when you're supposed to start. I've had like 3 or 4 of them now because they still think I have celiac. They don't believe me that I've cured myself and I can eat around the gluten. So they make me come back every few years.
So McNuggets, you'll have to do it in 9 years?
9 years, yeah.
The prep is the worst. The prep is awful. You can't eat for 2 days.
What?
My
you can't eat.
My doctor is a diabolical masochist. You can't eat for 2 days.
So you
Both
just
said there's
drink
a
water.
different way you could do it without
Well,
the traditional way.
My guy, it's 2 days. You drink. You take a big bottle of Miralax and you dump it into a big bottle of Gatorade and you chug it. And then the next day you do the same thing and you chug it like you are cleaned out by the time you get in there. It's not fun. No. I mean, the procedure is nothing. It's a big nothing. But the prep is horrendous.
I'm cool.
Yeah, it's
Now, we got a ways to go.
I'm cool. I hope they come up with a better way. It's got to be a better way.
They've been doing it this way for generations.
It's got to be a better way.
There ain't no other way.
Bull said there's a way he does it where he poops in a box and sends it to a scientist, and they look at it through there.
That's disgusting.
Am I wrong?
That's true.
That's what Bull said yesterday.
And I don't know if there's something with me in the producer chair, but yesterday was just off the rails at the beginning of the show.
I'm not lying.
Maybe it's a me problem.
That's what Bull told us yesterday.
But what are they? It can't be a full colonoscopy.
I've never pooped in a box. Don't
Director
look at me.
Steve is saying it's called Cologuard and is confirming that it is a real
I've seen
thing.
the commercials for that, but I don't think that's the same. Like they had to. Never mind.
That's
it. But that's how they diagnosed me with celiac, was because they had to go cut a piece of my colon out and test it. You can't do that by pooping in a box.
I don't know.
Put the webcam up it. It's whatever.
I'm cool.
Before we dive into a legitimately big show, we have an in-studio guest. We'll talk guards, Cavs, and Browns. Jimmy Haslam and the Haslam Sports Group got at least one half step closer to their proposed Brook Park Dome yesterday. The budget passed through the state Senate, Jason, and you have some information. Or was it the House?
House.
Passed the House. It has to go to the Senate now. And you have some information to help clarify some of the misconceptions about this new proposed budget that would impact the Browns stadium proposal.
Yeah, it's really confusing, and quite honestly, some of the reporting on this last week was horrendous. There was some really, really shoddy reporting on all of this. So the House passed its version of the budget. It includes $600 million in bonds for the Browns. It doesn't mean that it's finalized yet. It still has to go through the Senate. The Senate can propose its own budget, at which point the House and the Senate sit down with the governor, and representatives from both sit with the governor, and they say, okay, what's in, what's out. And then they come up with the actual final budget that the governor has to sign into law by June 30th, July 1st, something like that. And then it becomes Ohio's budget. We're not at that point yet. A couple of things on that, though. Last week, there were reports out there that they are cutting like $400 million in education for the stadium, and that is absolutely not true. And I don't want to sit here and advocate for giving billionaires public money. On record, I've said before, I believe the Haslam should pay for it themselves. If they don't pay for it themselves, I personally believe the next best option is what Governor Mike DeWine proposed about doubling the gambling tax. I like that better than the bonds. I'm not thrilled about the bonds idea. But the bonds are basically, the state sells these bonds to banks, investors, whoever, to fund the construction of the stadium, and then it is paid back on the taxes on the revenue of the stadium. And they'll probably run into that is if the revenue doesn't quite, you could fall into a deficit there. That's why I like the gambling rate thing better. But what's important to understand out of all this, the one thing I want to make clear is they are not cutting $400 million out of the education budget to give to the Browns. That is absolutely not true. It's strictly a bond sale. And I don't want to get too deep in the woods, but the way that it gets misinterpreted like this, and before I should say, Joe Varden, obviously is a good friend of mine, works with me at The Athletic, covers the NBA for us. Prior to getting back into sports, Joe covered politics. He was the State House reporter for the Columbus Dispatch. He was the Woj and Shams of Ohio political coverage at the State House. So he knows this stuff inside and out. He's got a ton of sources on this. I reached out to some of Joe's sources to make sure that we had a good grip on this. So what had happened was, without getting too far lost, 30 years ago, the way that Ohio schools were funded was ruled unconstitutional. And for 30 years, they've been trying to fix this. And one of the ways that they're trying to fix this is called the Cupp-Patterson model. Two politicians, Bob Cupp and Patterson, sat down and came up with this model. And basically what was ruled was property taxes in Ohio were relied on too heavily to fund the schools. So schools with lower property taxes were getting less money from the state. It wasn't being properly funded, I should say it that way. So the Cupp-Patterson model changes that so that schools with higher property taxes get less money from the state. Schools with lower property taxes get more money from the state. Why does that matter? Because they didn't explicitly follow in this House model the Cupp-Patterson model. Had they done that, there would be school districts that got less money in this budget, but that did not happen. Not one district in Ohio is receiving less money under this budget proposal than they previously got. So why has it been reported that it's been a cut? Because they haven't given it quite to the levels to meet like inflation models and everything else. So it's not as much as the Democrats want, but it's not a cut. And I'm not trying to get political on this. I don't like any politicians. You guys know that. I've said before, I hate them all. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I think they're all out to serve their own self-interests. I'm not one side or the other. So this isn't me trying to be rip Democrats or stick up Republicans or anything like that. I'm just trying to be honest with where this stands. So because they didn't get the funding to the level that meet, it has been framed as an education cut. It is not an education cut. Not one district is getting less money. So that's important. The bond issue is completely separate from this. The stadium issue is completely separate from this. It is not an education cut. Ultimately, Jimmy Haslam's probably going to get his money. He's probably going to get the $600 million. It will probably pass. Personally, I would like to see Mike DeWine at the last minute try and ram through his idea of doubling the gambling tax. I think that's the best way to go. But because powerful gambling lobbyists are here, it's a really powerful lobbying group. Because Republicans refuse to raise taxes on anything, there's a lot working against him. He's a lame duck governor. He's trying to go YOLO on his way out and ram this through. I would love to see it happen. I absolutely think it's the right thing to do. No sports books are going to pull out of Ohio if they double the gambling tax. There's too much money to be made. Ohio is one of the top states in the nation in terms of gambling, and the handle that they bring in, it's like $8 or $9 billion that's gambled every year. That's where they should go to fund stadiums, whether it be Brown Stadium. The Bengals are trying to redo their stadium. They're threatening they could leave at some point. That is, to me, that is the best route to go, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, unfortunately. I do think Jimmy's going to ultimately get his money, but just because the House budget passed doesn't, it's just a proposal. It's not the final budget. The final budget won't be known until summer.
You shouldn't talk about raising taxes or nothing. Not with all this tariff talk going on right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's not Jason raising taxes.
Don't nobody want.
Well, I want to double the gambling tax because if you talk about the people who use it should pay for it. Well, nobody better than sports gamblers. Yeah. They're the ones who are going to be hopefully using the stadium if they can afford to get in, because those prices are going to be sticker shock.
Man, that's gonna be crazy to see that ticket.
It's gonna be.
Gosh, I gotta keep
put a ball on
my
this before we
job.
move on into other stuff, Jason. So it passed the House. Now it goes to the Senate. It has to pass the Senate, and then it goes to Governor DeWine.
Then it goes
just
to
explain
Governor
the process, because this does seem like a step in the Haslam Sports Group, in their favor to getting
100%. It's for sure in their favor that this was included in the House proposal. Ultimately, I think he will get the money. And I asked Jimmy, what do you do if the county doesn't fall in line? If you get the state money and the county doesn't fall in line? And he basically said there's other ways to go about it. This is just me talking. This isn't sourced. This is just me from the 30,000-foot view. If he gets the $600 million, I believe this will happen. He'll figure out whether he has to pay for the rest himself, whatever. If they get the $600 million from the state, personally, I believe that the dome is happening. But we'll see. There's still hurdles to clear.
If the dome's happening one way or another,
I believe Jimmy gets what Jimmy wants. I've said that before.
Yeah,
and this is what he wants, and I think he's going to get it. But $600 million, it's 25% ish of the whole thing. Yeah. And so then we'll see. Then it's up to the county. The county at this point has resisted. I don't know if they'll fall in line or not. Jimmy had said it's better for everyone involved if there's a partnership and a cooperation between team and county. I don't know if he'll get that necessarily. We'll see.
Awesome, Jason. Great information. Let's dive into some sports topics for the day, Ant. But first, a quick word from FanDuel.
Yeah, guys, before we get into it, the NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. 3-pointers to steals to assists. It has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
All right, guys, the Guardians win again, Jason. This is maybe the two most unconventional wins in the history of unconventional wins. They win in the home opener on a walk-off walk. And then they win last night in a way that I did not think was possible. With 2 outs in the 9th, the White Sox get a single to left field with the bases loaded. 1 run scores to make it 3-2. The game-tying run is on his way home when he pulls a hamstring. You can see it here. Mike Talkman pulls his hammy, comes up limping. It's the easiest tag out in the history of tag outs to end the game. And Jason, I think your text yesterday in the group chat was perfect. Not only do the White Sox suck, they are tragically unlucky. Have you ever seen an ending like this to a baseball game?
That was unbelievable. I couldn't understand why Talkman was not in the frame when the throw was coming in. I thought he got crossed up in the signal from the third base coach maybe, and I thought they did a nice job pointing out on the broadcast earlier that he was the runner who should have scored on a ball hit to the wall, but he was probably, because he just came off the injured list with the hamstring, or because he'd been dealing with the hamstring previously, he was probably trying to go slow, and then it grabbed on him again at the worst possible time. The bigger story to me in all this is Emmanuel Clase is not right.
Yes.
And he got away with one last night. And you kind of saw the look on his face, on Austin Hedges' face
like
when
he
the
saw
game
a
was
ghost.
over. Like, they literally dodged a bullet. So Guardians have to figure that out. Clase has to figure that out. He's getting hit harder probably than he's ever been at any point since he's been in Cleveland, certainly. And they have to get to the bottom as to the why on that. But
I have a question on that
from
real quick.
Chicago's perspective, that was incredible.
Bull brought this up yesterday, and Jason, I trust your baseball expertise. He said Clase's throwing too many strikes, and guys are jumping on pitches early in the count. That last at bat was a 0-0 count, and Bull's a little concerned that because he's so accurate, which is a strength, it's becoming a little more predictable because guys don't want to get in a two-strike situation against him where he can break out that vicious slider. Do you believe there could be any correlation between Clase being so accurate that he's getting hit a little harder now?
I think he's missing over the plate more than he was when he's throwing. Usually, when he's throwing strikes, he's throwing it on the black and he's keeping it low and he's putting it in spots that are really difficult to make hard contact. And that's why he doesn't strike out a ton of guys because he's always around the plate. But usually, with his cutter, he's put in places that it's just hard to barrel. And this year they've backed off some of the cutter. They're trying to throw a few more sliders because I think Carl Willis felt like the teams were locking in too much on his cutter. Listen, Carl Willis knows more than any of us about this, so I trust him on it. But Mariano Rivera went to the Hall of Fame throwing the cutter and only the cutter because he could throw it 100 miles an hour. Obviously, maybe Clase is not to that level, but I think that they're trying to tweak his pitch mix. I think probably the movement on the cutter isn't what it's been. He's missed his spots at times. Some of it has been unlucky. We talked about on opening day. A lot of times he hit his spots, and it was just getting they were just getting hits off it. And the locations were similar to where he threw it last year. And Jay had mentioned, but it was flat. So ultimately, though, they have to figure this out, because guys are making more contact off him than they ever have before. It's really going to disrupt the entire flow of the bullpen if this doesn't get settled. I worry about where he is mentally. We talked about last year with the Instagram videos when he got hit around in the postseason, and I just wonder if he's come back from that yet or not, because the more he gets hit, the more it's going to jar his confidence.
Ty, are you worried about Clase? I mean, this is not a great start for a guy who did not finish the season strong in the postseason.
The thing about him is this is a guy that we were all lobbying for last year for the Cy Young. Now, granted, Tarek Skubal should have won it, and he did win it, but a lot of people was like, Clase got a real legit chance because he was just pitching that well.
He had no business winning the Cy Young award.
He had an incredible season for a closer,
he had
but
no
he's
business
not
winning.
Cy Young. Yeah.
You don't win the Cy Young pitching one inning.
He was incredible.
He was.
The one inning was incredible.
He was fantastic last year.
And to see where we are now, it's like, I think a lot of people are right. Like, if me being the amateur swinger that I am, at the...
Yeah, you are a swinger. You and Director Steve.
No, not that type of swinger.
You said it, not me.
Not that type of swinger.
Amateur?
You're the wrong kind.
I don't do what Steve does. Steve does different type of... He's in a different type of camp. But me at the plate, like if I was
Steve isn't actually a swinger. Can we...
Yeah, Steve's not yet.
For the record.
We love you, Steve.
Tyvis is the wrong kind of swinger.
Is it confirmed? Anyways, listen, if I was going up against Clase right now, like I probably just swing at every pitch because of the fact that he doesn't throw a lot of balls. He throws a lot of strikes. And I think a lot of people are realizing that, and that's why he's getting hit right now. They're getting lucky. I tell you what, though, outside of him, I know the weather's bad, but the hitting is really starting to bother me a little bit that we not getting his. Although my boy Big Christmas had a decent game yesterday, so there you go.
I do think the weather has a lot to do with it. Bats heat up as the temperature heats up. It sucks hitting in the cold. It's miserable. It's advantage pitchers.
Well, we had like 2 people hit the ball.
They have, Jason, 2 games against the White Sox, which is a 4A team.
Yeah.
They have 6 combined hits. They have 2 wins, granted.
Yeah.
And 4 runs and 6 hits in 2 games.
It's the fact that, because Bull was sitting there talking about, like, he was talking about how the pitcher, they don't have any pitching right now.
I think their pitching may be better than we are giving it credit for. I'm not ready to declare it yet, but I do think, like the guy who pitched yesterday, Burke, was
Sean
their
Burke.
opening. Yeah, he was their opening day starter. He was decent down the stretch last year. The guy who threw the opener, Shane Smith, was a Rule 5 pick from the Brewers.
That's what Bulls said.
So there's not a lot of data on him yet. Their lineup is horrendous. Chicago's lineup is awful. But I wonder if they have just a smidge more pitching. Burke was great on opening day. He got hit around in his second start.
He was okay yesterday.
Burke was great in Chicago's opener. Smith has been good in his 2 starts. It's early. It's really, really early. As teams get a scouting report on them, they may have ERAs. I think Burke's ERA is over 5 now, and Smith may be over 5 as well. So I could be way off on that because we just don't have a big sample size. But I do wonder if their pitching might be just a little bit better than we thought. Not saying they're great, not saying they're going to win 80 games.
So let me ask you this: if the temperature was 75 degrees outside, do you think these games would still be close?
I think the Guardians' offense would be better.
Okay.
I think the wind knocks down some of these balls that in the summertime get out.
Heck, it might get rained out today.
They play at 110 today. Gavin Williams on the bump for the Guards. It's a chance to get a series sweep, and I don't care how you win games in baseball. There's 162 games. Any chance and any opportunity you get to win a game that you can actually pull out a win is a good win. Gavin Williams, 8 innings pitched this season, Jason. 7 strikeouts, 4 walks. His whip at 1.63. It's a great chance against a terrible lineup for Gavin Williams to show us some of the promise that we had 2 seasons ago from the top prospect in the organization. I know he struggled a bit last year, but today feels like a great game to put the start of a really strong 2025 season on tape.
Yeah, it is. Luis Robert is the only hitter that you really have to fear in Chicago's lineup. Andrew Vaughn was a top prospect at one time. He's never really been able to put the wheels on his career fully. Gavin, Brian Rocchio, and Bo Naylor are 3 guys that I expected to take a leap this year to varying degrees. I think Gavin Williams should take the biggest leap of all of them. I do think Naylor should sort of return to the player that they thought they were getting. And Rocchio as well. I thought Rocchio could really capitalize off the postseason that he had and really sort of break through. Hasn't happened yet, but again, it's really cold. It's really hard to hit in the cold. You really have to get into the end of April and into May before you can really start to make any sort of judgment on where these guys are at.
We saw, and we talked about this yesterday, in the series opener on Tuesday, Nolan Jones had 2 106-plus exit velos that were hit right at guys.
Yeah.
And I said yesterday on the show, he's a guy you see at least putting good at-bats together, drew the game-winning walk, and then he came back yesterday, didn't have a hit, which, fine, whatever. But he's
You know who
off to a
did, though,
disappointing
right?
season. Big Christmas had 2. He's now 3 of 21 on the season.
Hey, I didn't need you to put that out there.
I'm just telling the truth.
He went 2
I
for 4
spit facts.
yesterday. Just leave it at that.
I think Nolan. Just finish your point. Sorry.
My point is, if you noticed anyone else in the Guardians lineup that, despite the fact the hit numbers and the run numbers aren't there, has been putting together good enough at bats that give you a little sense that, hey, this guy might be right in the precipice of turning the corner.
Rocchio's expected on base average is significantly higher than what his actual is, so that's one guy I would kind of point to. Nolan's another one. I think Nolan needs to play every day. Sorry, I know.
What's wrong with you?
I don't like John Kenzie's approach to
until
too
he
many
hit
bats.
the ball and then go over the fence.
We were watching one of his at bats the other day. I can't remember. It might have been the Kansas City. Might have been the Royals series. And my son and I were laying on the couch watching the game. And they threw a slider down, and John Kenzie was 6 feet out in front of it. And I said, "What do you think he's going to throw next?" He said, "Slider." Next pitch, same exact thing. Next pitch, same exact thing. I just don't like his approach. If they leave a fastball over the middle of the plate, he can hit it 718 feet off the Huntington Bank building. But short of that, I just think I think Nolan needs to play every day. I want to see him against lefties. I want to see if he's an everyday player. I think he is. I think he can be. And John Kenzie, I'm sorry.
You're wrong.
It's a great story.
You're wrong. No, it ain't no great story. I don't want to hear that.
John Kenzie can be a pinch hitter off the bench, a right-handed pinch hitter off the bench. I don't know that. He had great moments for that team in the postseason last year, but I just think Nolan Jones.
Last guy I want to ask about before we bring our guest in. Carlos Santana hit a home run last night.
Yeah.
He's batting .286 as one of the higher OPSs on the team. It's early. Granted, it's incredibly early, but he's at least filling some of the shoes that have been left behind from Josh Naylor. And
Naylor's also raking.
I know. I didn't want to bring that part up. But compared to some of the other stat sheets we put up on the screen, that one at least looks palatable. And it was nice to see Santana the day after his birthday put one out of the park to get the Guardians off on a hot start.
I think there was concern that he could fall off a cliff this year just because of his age. We talked about it at the time. I totally understand why they made the move that they did. They were not going to re-sign Naylor. If you can get something for the asset and you can create another asset in free agency that's similar, he's not as good offensively as Naylor. He's much better defensively than Naylor. And so far, at least, he's held his own as a veteran in the middle of the order, so hopefully that continues.
They shouldn't have touched the lineup. They should have kept everybody from last year. That's where I'm at.
Well, I get the Hemi trade because of the future money owed. I totally get it, and Bizana coming.
Nope.
I get why they did it with Naylor. I'm not saying I agree with it. I understand it. The Naylor thing especially, I would like to have seen him keep Josh.
Yeah.
Just like John Kinsey, you're wrong about that too.
All right, guys, we got our guests ready to hop into with us today, and we are thrilled to welcome in Dante Washington. A quick reminder that there is no energy like the energy of a Major League Soccer match. The chance, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. If you want to experience it live, and there is a big game coming to Cleveland next weekend, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever with last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and their lowest price guarantees. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Soccer tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop the closer you get to kickoff, so you can score some amazing seats at an even better deal. We just checked the Game Time app. There are plenty of tickets available for next Saturday's Crew versus Inter Milan matchup at Huntington Bank Stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. And with that, we got a soccer guest, maybe our first ever soccer guest joining us. So it is Dante Washington.
I like it.
With the Columbus Crew here to help us break down and preview the primetime Saturday afternoon matchup next weekend at Huntington Bank Stadium between the Columbus Crew and the GOAT, Messi and Inter Milan. How you doing today, Dante?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
First of all, I love scarves.
These are awesome.
How did scarves become like the staple of soccer? Do you know?
I don't know, but it's like synonymous with soccer.
Yeah, right?
Like there's a scarf for everything.
Well, between the scarves, the drums, the atmosphere at a soccer game, whether it's minor league, collegiate, professional, international, it feels like it's just a different vibe than a basketball game or a baseball game or a football game, and it's kind of infectious. Even if you're not a huge soccer fan, you can get into the atmosphere of being live at one of these events.
Yeah, and I think like with most American sports, like you said, baseball, basketball, football, they all have like breaks. With soccer, there's no break. So it's up to the fans to keep the energy going, and it's an infectious. Like once you get in the stadium and the drums are going, like you said, chants, the singing, the boos, the hissing, the cheers, it just is a lot of energy. It's a lot of fun.
Hey.
Right now, the Crew is undefeated, correct?
Correct.
What have you seen out of them this year? Obviously, we know that they won it all 2 years ago and then 2020. What have you seen out of this team, and do they have what it takes to get to win another championship this year?
You know, there's been some change. We lost probably arguably our best player.
Yeah.
But I think the beautiful thing about the team is it's not just about one person. The team still is playing unbelievably well. As you said, we're undefeated right now and hoping to continue that. But it's just the system, the style of play, the belief that the players have in themselves, and the belief that the coach instills in the players. Okay. Everyone's for each other, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Tell us about this game coming up in Cleveland. Why Cleveland? The first thing I said was, I'm surprised they didn't play it at Ohio State. So why? How did this wind up here, and why not play it at Ohio State?
Well, I think the connection between the Haslam's, who are our owners, and the Browns makes a lot of sense. Makes it a lot easier because you control the stadium. They own the stadium. If we were to try to do it at Ohio State, it's a completely different animal. Plus, it's grass here, Ohio State's turf. So I think just a natural connection between the Browns, the Haslam family, and then extending the Crew to come up to play in Cleveland where we haven't done it before kind of made it all make sense.
I actually wanted to ask you about that because the Haslams in Cleveland are viewed one way, and the Haslams in Columbus are viewed in an entirely different way. There's a lot of people upset and angry with the direction of the Browns over the last 10 years under their ownership. How is the Haslam family viewed in Columbus?
Well, you have to know a little bit of the backstory. So back in 2017, 2018, the team was potentially going to be relocated to Austin, Texas. And our local ownership group, the Edwards family, came in and kind of started things. And then once they met the Haslams, they came and swooped in and completely rejuvenated, re-energized, changed the complexion of the entire organization. So they've been able to do it with us. Honestly, I was privy to a lot of information about the potential relocation that wasn't public knowledge. So there were definite times where I was thinking, we're done, we're cooked.
Yeah.
They're out. And I know how sensitive that is with people in Cleveland. It's sensitive to me. I'm from Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
So
you get it.
I remember the Mayflower trucks pulling
Yep.
out in the middle of the night in darkness. So this was a kind of a PTSD for me too. Because I'm like, whoa, no, that's my team. And I played for the Crusaders, made it even deeper. Like, hold on, I've been going to games. I've played in the stadiums, played in the shoe back in the day when the team played there at first. So for them to be able to come in, and they've been fantastic. Like, had numerous conversations with them. They've done a lot. I know the one thing I know about them is they want to win. Winning is key and number one. So I understand the frustration with the Browns, but for us, yeah, like you said, they've come in and done a world of change for us.
Next Saturday's match is not just any soccer match. Messi is coming to Cleveland. It's not every day you get a chance to witness either. Some consider him the GOAT. He's certainly in the GOAT conversation.
Right.
In person, obviously Columbus is having a terrific season in its own right. But Dante, tell us a little bit about the matchup on the field that we're going to see next Saturday when the Crew take on Inter Miami here at Huntington Bank Field.
Well, you have two of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, and arguably right now, maybe two of the best teams in the entire league. Everyone looks at Inter Miami. They've got all of the names, starting with Messi, Sergio Busquets, Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba.
All the guys you like to play with in FIFA
Yeah.
are on Inter Miami.
All the ones who are like your cheat code. I'm going to use these guys on my team or on that field. But it's going to be a battle. There's a lot of pride on the line. Anytime you get a chance to play against, like you said, arguably one of the best ever play of the game, you want to try to make sure you try to shut them down. I don't know if there's a way you really shut him down. You just try to hopefully limit him. We're watching him play last night. Scored goals last night. He scores goals at will. So, when you're up against those guys, you just try to do what you can do and, put your best foot forward. We played him before. He scored against us, but, sometimes you can't stop greatness, but you just try to limit it.
You were a really good player back in your heyday, 10 years, 6 with the Crew, and I think you scored 77 career goals, played on the U.S. national team. Is Messi the GOAT in your mind, or do you stray towards someone else?
I think it's always hard to say who's the GOAT in any sport because, like, the whole MJ LeBron and things change so much over the years. The dynamics change with, obviously, with NBA free agency and the way things are structured. I grew up with Pele, Maradona, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi. You could argue, that Messi is the GOAT, but then when you start comparing things, it's really hard to compare. So like with Pele, people say, well, he never played outside of his country. It's like, because he was determined to be a national treasure by his country, he couldn't leave to go play somewhere else. So, I mean, I don't like
There's no right or
those
wrong
games.
answer.
I mean, I'll just say, he's one of the best ever. Leave it at that.
Let me ask you this game got moved to Cleveland, and I'm a native. I live in Columbus, so I hear the talk. A lot of them and some Cincinnati fans were kind of upset because I guess Messi never got a chance to play in Columbus last year. What do you think of those fans, that's upset about the fact that this game is being played in Cleveland rather than Columbus?
Well, we did play him in Columbus, so some people may have missed that game.
That was sold out, if I remember right. The tickets were crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure it was.
When it was announced, and people texted me, and of course I had people text me that week.
Yeah.
Can I take tickets? I'm like, now I'm your new best friend, right? So I understand the frustration, but the people who don't get to see them there, maybe they do get to come see them here, but there's going to be a whole lot of people who get to see him play next weekend who would never been able to see him play down there. So it's about spreading growing the game,
Yeah.
spreading the game around. I think you see in other sports, they're going and playing internationally. They're coming and trying to play here with the English league teams, international soccer teams that come play here. Yeah, it's preseason, but it's still an opportunity to see some of the best players around the world get to play here because you can't fly to Spain, you can't fly to England, so you get to see them play here. So hopefully, yeah, I get the frustrations, but for one person's loss, another person's gain.
Yeah, I mean it's
It's a bigger stadium.
bigger stadium. That's what
Yeah,
I was
a lot
saying.
more
It's a
people.
lot
Yeah, a lot
more
more
people.
people.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of energy.
You talk about growing the game, and soccer is absolutely the world's game, except here. Why is it like in the youths in my city? There's soccer is huge, and in a lot of cities, there's all these youth kids playing soccer and everything. Why do you think soccer has never risen to the level here that it has in other countries?
How much time you got?
An hour and 25 minutes. Go.
I mean, that's when you think of, if you talk to other people around the world, they say what we've been able to do in the amount of time that we've done it is unbelievable. When you look at other countries, other professional clubs, they've been doing this for a lot longer than we have. Our league is going into the 30th season, 30th year this year, and there are clubs who've been around more than 100. So we've been able to make huge strides. We're still continuing to grow. Most other countries, a lot of times, soccer is the sport. So you have all of the boys and countries, and some now where girls are playing more. That's the sport that they're going to. They're not going to football, basketball, baseball, other sports. Soccer is it. And it's what they learn to do growing up. That's what, they're out in the streets and they're playing in the streets. It's not the way it is here. We just don't have that soccer culture yet. I think we have it in pockets. I was fortunate where I grew up in Maryland. We had a huge number of people who played soccer. All of my friends grew up playing. So I think it's just become more culturally ingrained in different areas of the country where now we'll start to see it continue to grow.
For anyone who's on the fence about getting a ticket to next Saturday's game, A, can you tell them where they can get tickets, and B, tell them why this is a event in Cleveland that they'd be silly to miss out on.
Well, I mean, obviously you talk about being able to see Lionel Messi, but I will also argue, and I will say, take great friends of mine who say they love to watch our team play. We have a very unique style of play, a defined style of play, where, like I said earlier, we lost he was second in MVP voting last year, and we've started the season still undefeated in league play.
Crazy, yeah.
So when you're able to do something like that, and it's all about the style of play. We have the defender of the year. We've got Darlington Nagbe, who is, when you talk about GOATs, the best at his position to ever do it. Diego Rossi. We've got some very good players. It may not be the big names that Inter Miami has, but we have still have a very good team. They can get tickets online. There's still tickets available, but I think you're going to see a very competitive environment and competitive event, especially we get 60 plus thousand people in the stands. As an athlete, when there's a lot of people in the stands, get a little bit more
you do.
Juice in the veins, right?
Well, 3 of the 4 of us know what being an athlete feels like. So,
What are you trying to say?
did you play in college?
No.
Yeah, then yeah. So Jason said I went out.
I mean, I played intramural softball in college.
We'll count it.
No, I have a really stupid question that I've always wondered. So in the NBA, they've got like all this tracking data now, right? They know how fast you run, how far you run. Do they have any tracking data in soccer? And how far do you run in a game?
Yeah, they do have tracking data. So they'll wear the harnesses. Some call them sports bras, whatever, and they have the pods that are on their upper back, so that they do have it. It depends on the position. I'm not sure the exact number. Depending on the position, they can run upwards of 5 miles. They usually are measuring in meters, so doing that conversion. But they're running a few miles during each game.
Snooty Americans, everything is in miles.
Exactly.
Our producer, Ant, played soccer at the highest level of any of us, and he has one last question before we wrap up here.
Yeah, I'm the only soccer guy here on set, but you're part of the 40 for 40 club, one of 22 people in college to have 40 goals and 40 assists. Like, how much of achievement is that? Like, I didn't play in college, unfortunately, but that's 40 goals is insane over a college career. How cool was that to get?
It was. I didn't expect it, to be honest. Growing up, I wasn't highly recruited, so I just kind of burst on the scene. My freshman year in college, I led the nation in scoring. My freshman year,
Hell yeah.
I'm actually the second leading scorer in Division I soccer history. So
Shoot.
it's one of those
Talk
things.
about it.
I was the second scorer in D1 history. I walk into everyone with a sign on my back that says, I'm the second leading scorer in D1. That's awesome, Dante.
Yeah. So to be able to get the goals and the assists is, not just a one-trick pony. So it's great. I say all the time that my record. So the guy's number one. Someone asked me the other day, like, why don't you catch him? I was like, I just wasn't gonna catch that guy. But
Who is it?
Thompson Usissian or something. He played it. He was older than I was, but he scored like a gazillion. I thought I had a lot of goals. He had a gazillion more. But I say the record's never going to be broken because the way the game is now, if I would have scored 27 goals as a freshman, I would have been, well, if there was NIL, I maybe would have made a couple dollars, but not $1 million. But
Life changed.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
I would not have played 4 more years. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, it feels great. It's good.
Awesome. That's Dante Washington with the Columbus Crew. Make sure you guys head over to Huntington Bank Field this Saturday, 4:30, or next Saturday, the 19th, 4:30 to see the Columbus Crew take on Messi and Inter Milan. Dante, we appreciate you coming in today, and hopefully it's a raucous, rowdy crowd at the bank
Sure it will.
next Saturday.
Appreciate the time, guys.
Awesome. If you want tickets, by the way, Game Time can get your tickets for all MLS games using promo code LOCKEDON. As we move on to our next topic of the show, a quick reminder that Jason and I did an Ultimate Cavaliers show yesterday. Steve, please take the graphic full whenever you can so we can get our guest out. There we go. Dante, thanks for coming in. Jason and I went over all things Cavs, clinching the 1 seed, Evan Mobley's DPOY campaign, and everything else in between on the Ultimate Cavaliers show. You can find that on our YouTube channel, wherever you find all your other clips and stuff. Make sure you guys check out the Columbus Crew taking on Inter Miami next Saturday at the bank. Tickets available online, and like we said before, use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Let's talk a little Browns now, guys, and some change in messaging between Shedeur Sanders' camp from where the draft process started to where we're at today. As Tyvis pointed out, when this whole process began, Shedeur Sanders was pretty much publicly flirting with the Browns, campaigning to be drafted by the Browns, saying, I only play with Cleveland and Madden, wearing Browns gear, wearing their gloves, wearing their hats. And then this came out yesterday. Louis Riddick, who is close with Deion Sanders and his family, was on First Take and had this comment. Steve, we want to hear from Louis Riddick.
Shedeur is someone who wants to be collaborative. He is someone that you want to talk with. He doesn't like to be told just, this is the way we're going to do things, and then you're just going to need to fall in line.
Swag going here.
And he kind of he's earned that right because of the way he has played. This young man is going to be just fine. And you know what? I hope he doesn't go in the top 3 picks. I hope he doesn't. And I think his camp would tell you the same thing. There are other teams that they want to go to.
You could be in a better situation, obviously, if you fall. And we know how much that matters for a player's trajectory.
So Tyvis, from publicly flirting with the Browns, saying he's only talking to teams in the top 3, to now having someone who's not necessarily in Shedeur's camp but is very close with the Sanders family and Louis Riddick say they actually don't want him to go top 3 and he thinks there are better fits elsewhere. What do you make of the change of messaging from Shedeur and his camp from the start of this process to where we're at now? What does this tell you?
Hang on. Props to you. You called it right away. That
You did.
Something is amiss.
First of all, when they say they don't want him to go top 3, that's a lie. Okay. First of all, let's cut the BS. What's happening is people are assessing your game for whatever reason, whether they met you or whatever the case may be, and they're realizing that they don't know if you're the guy that they look at as a franchise guy. And if you listen to all the experts before this whole thing came out, they kept saying Cam Ward is probably the only guy that they view as a franchise quarterback. The rest of these guys aren't that, okay? And as this offseason has went on, you've seen how some of these teams have moved. The Giants was supposed to be heavily on them, and they went out and signed 2 quarterbacks. And everybody was like, well, if that's the case, they'll still draft Shedeur. No, they won't, because they're trying to win right now. If Shedeur can't come in and make an impact at some point this season, then what was the point of taking him when we can just get a quarterback next season? So I think a lot of teams are trying to figure that part out. The reason why with the Browns, if the Browns selected him, it'd be fine. But the one thing that bothers me is everybody says that he doesn't have the strongest arm. And if you think about the AFC North, the quarterback that's been the most successful all have strong arms because of the elements that you play in. Mm-hmm. So when people slot him to a New Orleans, I think that's great because he plays 8 games in a dome and they play in a semi-warm climate. So that would be a good spot for him. I think that when you don't have to deal with the wind and all of those things. You will at some point, but for the majority of your games, you're going to be indoor. So I think that's why people want him to go to 9. But as far as them saying like they don't want him to go top 3, that's baloney. Yes, you do. You want him to go as high as
he wants to go number 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why when he first started saying what he was saying, I said, you should have been saying this about the Tennessee Titans. You should have been making your case for the Tennessee Titans. That way, even if you didn't get drafted by the Tennessee Titans, people would still be like, oh, okay, you just want to be, you feel like you're the best player in this draft. To where you come out and ultimately say, I want to go to the Cleveland Browns. That's why I was like, that's, like the Titans need a quarterback just as bad as the Browns do, so why would you rather go to the Browns? And I just think that, a lot of the things, what it was he was selling himself to Cleveland so he was going to get the fan base behind him. That the fans would be like, we want Shedeur, which will ultimately try to pressure the Browns into saying, well, we're going to try to get the fans what they want. And I think they just continue to do their evaluation. And for whatever reason, I don't know exactly what the answer is, but for whatever reason, teams are cooling off on him. And you're starting to hear his name just kind of slip a little bit further down in the draft. Now, I still think whoever gets him, ultimately he's going to be a good quarterback. But I think there's some work that needs to be done, and that's what teams are feeling.
Jason, what do you make of the mixed messaging?
Number 1, I think they knew Cam was going number 1. I think they've known that for a while. So that's why they focused on the Browns. The part that I wonder about is when you say you want to go top 3, you want to go top 3 for the money, you want to go top 3. 100%.
Absolutely,
you want to go top 3.
That's why I keep saying that's baloney.
But here's the thing: Rich Paul talks about this a lot in the NBA about fit is so much more important over where you go in the draft, because you might get one contract. And I'm talking NBA. Mm-hmm. But if you wind up in the wrong system, you may not get another. But if you go to the right team, you can make much more money long term if they use your skills better. So I do, and obviously the teams at the top of the draft, unless there's a weird trade involved, they're not very good. And the teams in the middle to the lower part of the draft are usually pretty good and pretty competent. So I do wonder if there is a thought of, you don't want to go top 3 because you don't want to go to a bad team.
Jason, the Browns would be a perfect fit for him for transitioning from Pat Shurmur to Kevin Stefanski's offense.
Let me ask you about this, because
I agree with that.
So
because I've said before, I think the thing that Kevin likes in Shedeur is accuracy, decision making,
all the things that he's good
toughness.
at.
Yeah, there are things.
So that's what I'm saying. It would have been perfect.
Yeah,
but the fact that this Travis Hunter thing has come out, now all of a sudden you don't want to go top 3. That don't.
It's not just that. When you look at the 3
I want to get
teams,
back to the Hunter thing in a minute. Go ahead.
The 3 teams at the top of the draft: Tennessee, who's their coach? Brian Callahan. What did he get his most notoriety in the NFL for?
Being the son of.
Okay, well, I guess that's a good answer. I was going to say for being the OC for Joe Burrow and helping him develop into this superstar level quarterback. You have Kevin Stefanski, whose reputation across the league, fair or not, is that he's a good quarterback whisperer. We could argue the stats, you may disagree, but his reputation across the league is of that. And Brian Daboll, how did he get his head coaching job? For being the guy who helped develop Josh Allen from a project into a franchise quarterback. So the 3 teams at the top of the draft.
He got Danny Downs paid.
All have track records, not necessarily at their current stops, but on their coaching resume of getting the most out of quarterbacks. Now, Louis Riddick said what he said. We just played it. Mary Kay caught up with Louis Riddick later after those comments, and he had 2 comments from his conversation with Mary Kay that stood out to me that I think play into what we're talking about as to why or why not Cleveland would be a fit for Shedeur. And once again, before we read these quotes, it is worth reminding you that Louis Riddick played with Deion, is still close with Deion, is out and open about his relationship with Deion and the Sanders family. So this is coming from somebody who is certainly pro-Shedeur. We got 2 quotes here from Louis Riddick. Let's take the first one, Steve, and I'll read this for you guys. He told this to Mary Kay of Cleveland.com. Quote, in some retrospects, there are other teams that I hope he goes to that I think would be good fits for him. I do feel that way. I do feel like him going to a place like New Orleans or going to a place like Pittsburgh or Las Vegas, I think they would be good fits for him. The question Mary Kay asked that got that response was, why not Cleveland? The other part of the response, Steve, take the next quote, says from Louis Riddick, and I quote, "If I'm playing the odds, this is nothing against Kevin, Andrew, and Billy," Bill Musgrave. "If my son were coming out of the draft, I wouldn't put Cleveland at the top of the list. But that doesn't mean they can't fit there. It is what it is."
That's confusing.
End quote from Louis Riddick.
Well, I mean, that goes back to what Deion tweeted in 2018 about Cleveland and knew wouldn't want people to go to Cleveland, and then they kind of buried that and hid that and ran from that when it looked like there was a chance he could come here. I think, I've said before, I think they're taking Travis. I think after the fact that this is all coming out almost immediately after Colorado's pro day, the fact that Deion said, I think one of the two are going to wind up in Cleveland, I think they know it's probably leaning Travis at this point, and that's why, as the coach, as the Colorado coach, you're thrilled that one of your guys is going number 2. As Shedeur's dad, you're probably a little aggravated that it's not your kid. So I get both sides of that. But I do think that the timing on this is really interesting. Can I see the first quote again from Riddick? Can you pull that back up?
He was asked, why not Cleveland, basically. And this is
so, Tyvis, tell me why New Orleans, Pittsburgh I get. I don't understand why New Orleans or Vegas would be better fits. Is it the Dome?
New Orleans with the Dome, and they got Kellen Moore as the new play caller, which some people respect him as a play caller. He's the head coach now. And then with Vegas, you got Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is fun, got the best out of Russell Wilson. He's going to probably change the culture, and having Shedeur go to that culture, he'll probably thrive. So I think that's the reason. And they're in the Dome, too. And they're in good climate as well, so.
I'm just fascinated to see.
Now going up against Patty Mahomes and Bo Nix and all that. And Herbert, like that.
That's a division.
You need a guy that's competitive enough to handle that. And he'll have to sit behind Geno Smith, which we'll see how long that train lasts anyways. It's like it'd be a good situation where he can sit, learn, and then boom, take it over probably next year.
Where Shedeur goes will be the top storyline of this draft. I think
100%.
I think he's going to New Orleans.
But they're gonna I'm gonna say this
because I take him over Derek Carr.
When I'm not saying Shedeur, I'm not comparing Shedeur to Anthony Bennett. Okay, I'm not saying he's gonna be busted. But this is what I'm saying. When Bennett went number 1 in that draft, there was talk that he could fall all the way out of the lottery
if he didn't go 1.
And then he winds up going 1. Like nobody knew where Anthony Bennett was going to go. He could go 8, he could go 10, he could go 12, he could fall out of the lottery. And then the Cavs wound up taking him 1, and it blew everybody away, blew everybody's minds, and it turned out to be the worst pick in the history of the NBA number 1 overall picks.
You still there?
I'm not saying that's going to be Shedeur, but I'm saying he has that volatility to him in this draft where he could go. At this point, if he went 2, I'd be a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked.
No, I still think this down to 4. It's still 4. It's only 4 names that the Browns can rattle off that it ain't gonna cause a riot. Cam, Shedeur, Travis, Abdul. That's it. It's one of them 4. It has to be one of them 4.
I would be surprised if Shedeur's the pick at 2 now.
I would.
It's got to be one of them 4 names.
But if he doesn't go, like, who knows where he falls?
Well,
he could go at 2. He could fall to the teens.
The Vegas
I don't
odds
think anything
now
would surprise me.
You know how you can't in Ohio, but you can bet on draft position over under a certain pick.
Yeah.
The over under for Shedeur now is 8.5. New Orleans picks at 9. In Todd McShay's mock draft this morning, they had the Browns trading up to 15, using 33.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
To take Shedeur, I'm just giving you different.
That doesn't make any sense.
In other mock drafts, he's going to 21 at Pittsburgh. In other mock drafts, I've seen him going 27, 28. So you talk about the volatility in Shedeur Sanders. Even guys who do this for a living in mock drafts are by no means a perfect science at all. They're way more often wrong than they are right.
Yeah.
But it's the only thing we really have to go off of because Tyvis and I at least aren't getting, this high-level intel on which Arizona and what they're thinking. So you have to consider all the things when you're weighing and making these opinions. But I think his range starts from 2 and ends at like 28, 29.
The interesting thing will be what if he's the second quarterback off the board. If Dart goes before him, we might be. This thing could get really interesting. It's a high possibility that could happen.
That could happen.
Yeah.
It's a good thing G isn't here, or we'd have to bring out the paddles and stretch him out of here.
Why?
Because I honestly think if, like, it's all about quarterback, right? Like, Brown's got to get a quarterback. We know that. If you don't like these guys.
I'd take Tyler Shook.
I think for the best overall health of the organization, for the long-term view, I actually think the best move is to trade down far enough to where you get a future one next year so that you have the capability to move around the board.
What are you talking about? Trade down from 2?
Yeah. But here's the thing.
I'm about to turn into G.
He said this multiple times.
Stop that.
It's all about the quarterback.
Stop
and you
that.
have to be in position. If you're not going to get it this year, if you don't like these guys and you're trying to wait, you have to have the capital to be able to move up the board next year.
Can I give you a counter on how you could still be in position? Wait, hold on. Can I give you a counter on how you get in that position without having to trade down?
Yeah.
You start Kenny Pickett.
Well, I think Kenny would win you more games than you think. I'm not saying that he's taking them to the playoffs.
I think 2. So you saying 3?
I think they'd win more games than they won last year with Kenny Pickett. But here's the alternative to that. The only reason I think teams would come up is to get a quarterback. And again, I don't know that there's a second quarterback in this draft worth coming up to get. So I don't think that you can command the same prices that you could maybe in other years where there was a Carson Wentz type that, they trade out of, a team can move up, something like that.
Mariota that year.
So I don't know that because we had this conversation before, I don't know if a team is really moving up to get Travis Hunter. Like, would you trade a future one to move up to get a receiver if there's another receiver you can get 7 or 8 picks later that's comparable? And maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know if there's a lot of wide receivers like that this year, isn't it? They haven't really
But he's just using it as an example.
Just an example.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that there's a position that, because, the Falcons did it with Julio Jones. They moved all the way up to get Julio Jones, and the Browns dropped really far to get a future one. But, the Falcons weren't trying to move up to 2. At 2, I think you only go up to 2 if you're trying to get a quarterback, and I don't know if there's another quarterback out here to get. But for the long-term health of the franchise, in terms of trying to find that franchise-type quarterback, I honestly think the best move is probably to trade down. I just don't think it's very likely because they're not going to have a partner that's willing to come up.
Let me ask you, when you say trade down, like, what's the furthest you willing to trade down?
Whatever it takes to get me a future one.
See, that to me, because now you're just it's so much talent.
You're still going to get a good player.
Yeah,
there's holes all over the. Who is your left tackle?
DeJuan Jones. Go Bucks.
Okay.
They're taking a tackle at 33 if they don't take a.
I'm just saying there are significant questions all across on both sides of the ball. So that however low you have to go, because I don't think you have to drop to 21.
This is what
know what I mean.
This is what I'll tell you as a defensive back. This is a great quote that I've heard from a friend of mine. He used this and it's been stuck in my head because he's 100% correct. When it comes to whether or not you should draft for offensive lineman or a skill position, you always pick the skill position, because as a defensive back, I've never missed nights of sleep worrying about how we going to get past this left tackle. But I've stayed up trying to figure out how we gonna stop this wide receiver.
Yeah.
So
that's
you
fair.
Always go with the skill player. So therefore, in this situation, I'm not comfortable just giving out a talented guy like Travis Hunter.
I have a limit.
Will Campbell.
I have a limit on where I trade down to. I think out of the top 10, I'm not going past the top 10 because there is such a lack of talent, young talent on this roster.
Yeah.
And I understand 100% the point you're trying to make, Jason. But at some point, you have to accumulate blue chip type players.
Absolutely.
And if the Browns feel there are 6 blue chip prospects in this draft, then I'm not trading back behind 6. They feel there's 8, whatever the number the Browns feel there are
blue
legit.
Chip. It's probably.
And if
I say it's 4.
If they say the number's
blue
3,
chip guys, 5.
Then I'm not trading back. If that's the number 5 tie, I'm not going to 6.
I got 5 blue chip guys.
I need to get a blue chip guy. When you have the number 2 pick in the draft, unless you're taking a quarterback that you're slightly reaching on and you feel that guy is the tier below blue chip, then fine, whatever. Other than that, if you're picking second, you have to come away with a guy you think can be a legitimate blue chip guy, and I think we're the same 5.
5. Cam, Travis, Abdul, Mason Graham.
And Genty. And maybe Tyler Warren.
So Shedeur is off that list.
Shedeur's not in that
he's
blue
not
chip
a blue chip.
conversation.
No.
If he was,
he would be the number 2 pick.
I'm not arguing. I'm just pointing it out.
Well, my whole point on this big topic, to bring it back.
Those 5 names, if they don't do with Tyler Warren, those 6, if those 6 don't do well in NFL, I'd be shocked.
So my point with this whole big thing, we're going to get to a Travis Hunter DB breakdown with Coach Tyvis next, which I'm thrilled to see. The messaging changed from Shedeur, from going from draft me Cleveland, which Tyvis correctly pointed out from the get-go was fishy. And kudos to you, Tyvis, for spotting it because I wouldn't have noticed it. To now where he is, people in his camp telling Louis Riddick, yeah, we actually don't want to go top 3, we want to go to a better spot. Positional fit is more important, and team and organizational fit is more important than where you get drafted. But the change in messaging to me tells me the NFL, not us, we're stupid. Jason, Tyvis, we are all in the stupid conversation when it comes to these evaluations. NFL teams don't view Shedeur as a blue chip prospect because if he was, there's no conversation he's going top 3.
Correct.
It's not us. It is the NFL giving you that information.
I mean,
and it doesn't mean, or last thing, it doesn't mean Shedeur can't turn out to be an all-pro, all-world quarterback.
I hope I pray he does.
These evaluations are wrong all the time.
Yep.
I'm just telling you, the pre-draft evaluation on Shedeur Sanders right now is that he is not necessarily worthy of being a top 3 pick. Because if he was and teams felt like that, Tyvis, the messaging wouldn't change as drastically as it has.
It's just amazing that everybody been saying the same thing, and as we get closer, you're starting to see like, okay, they wasn't wrong. Like everybody, we had multiple people come down, break film down, Sean, Greg, all these people come out and they all said the same thing where it's like he's a good player, but he's not a top 10 pick. Like if you tell me he's a guy that you select at the end of the first round or the beginning of the second, yeah, that's about where I would have him going. But like top 10, a lot of people don't have him in that, like skill set wise, they don't feel like he's in that ballpark, and it is what it is. Unless you get a team, he can fall. Maybe he can get the Michael Penix type thing where a team just kind of takes him, where it's just shocking. Like, why did you take him? And it could be the Vegas. Vegas could do that.
It could be Vegas.
They'd be like, why y'all just signed Geno Smith? Why are you taking Shedeur? Like, he could fall into that same situation.
I'm still stuck on the top 3 versus best fit because I'm thinking about Lamar Jackson. If the Browns took Lamar Jackson first overall,
would he have been where he is today?
With Hugh Jackson as the coach?
No.
Would he have made the money that he's made?
No.
But he went to a spot that was really smart and how they used him and how they brought him along. Mm-hmm. And he put in the work. Like, too many times I don't think the players get the credit for putting in the work. Like, you want to give credit to the organization, the coaches and all that. The dude that put in the work and got better gets 90% of the credit in my mind. That's why the Evan Mobley conversation. Evan gets the credit. Like Kenny, yes, Kenny brought in the system, but Evan gets the credit for putting in the work. And Lamar, in this instance, gets the credit for putting in the work and being that guy and turning it around. But if Lamar Jackson goes number 1 overall to the Browns, I don't think he has anywhere near the career that he's had in Baltimore. So I do think fit is more important than going top 3.
I agree.
100%.
You just made the case earlier that...
No, that's not what I said. I said him saying that he don't want to go top. That's baloney. Everybody, for status, just to say I went 2 in the draft. Like every NFL player wants to go as high as possible to say that they went there. But now, as far as longevity goes, yeah, I'm with you 100%. Yeah. But as an ego thing, I was the first pick in the draft. What you talking about?
Yeah.
Anthony Bennett will always have that.
That's it. He got a couple dollars in his bank account.
All right, Ty, we haven't done a Coach Tyvis segment in a while. And you mentioned on Tuesday some of the Travis Hunter defensive back techniques that you wanted to show us and enlighten us, teach us a little bit about. So Ant's going to do a fan roll. I'm going to pass the iPad over to you. And we're going to do a little Coach Tyvis DB breakdown on Travis Hunter coming up after this.
Yeah, guys, the NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on all the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. Don't miss out on all the betting fun. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
And with that, we welcome back Coach Tyvis to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, breaking down some Travis Hunter defensive back film. This is Tyvis' first time using the teleshirt and the iPad. So if there's any technical difficulty, bear with the man. But, Steve, Let's take it and let's see Coach Tyvis show us why Travis Hunter can succeed as a defensive back on the next level.
Look at that, man. We got a couple dollars around here now. Anyways, so for this first play, this is a cover 2. So for people that don't know cover 2, that safety's got that. He will be a flat player. His job is to make this guy go inside, release, and then he's supposed to sink off, let the ball take him to the flats. When you see this play, you'll have this guy, he'll go in and do a slant. You'll have this guy come out on the wheel. Come out on the wheel route. And as a flat player, this is your responsibility, this flat play.
So that's Travis on the boundary.
Travis is in the boundary, okay? When you look at this play, Travis has incredible ball skills, okay? Right now, he's selling it to the quarterback. He's doing exactly what I said. You're supposed to take this guy. You let the ball take you back down to this, okay? Travis keeps his eyes on the quarterback the entire time, and when he sees that the ball is going, he breaks on it, and he just makes a really great play. And this is just things that you can't be taught. This is what makes him so instinctual, is that he can pull this type of stuff off, because if you're a quarterback, you think to yourself, oh, he's gone. When I looked over there the first time, he had already took off up the field with this wheel, so as a smart quarterback do, you go to your check down, which would be that guy, and he's come all the way back, put his foot in the ground, and made a play. And that's what to me, this is the stuff that you can't teach. This is what makes him special. For this next clip right here he is down in the middle. Now he's playing off a little bit, but it's the same concept. This is like a cover 2 type concept to where he is. All right, so let me break it down. So you got the little hitch play right here, and you got this guy doing a 7 cut. This is called a smash 7. When you're playing a cover 2, which he is, but he's not. It's like a man type thing, but it's definitely cover 2, because I could just tell how this guy's playing. This guy hold on, excuse me. How that guy right there was playing, they're playing cover 2. So he's doing
trash can to erase all the lines.
He's doing a really good job of selling this. And what he did, hold on. Gosh, I can't get it to stop when I want it to stop. Right here. All right, right here. He's wrong, because he shouldn't be jumping this. You let the ball take you to this. You let the quarterback's eyes take you to this, and you break down. Your responsibility is to back up and make the quarterback put air on this, because the safety is playing inside out of this, and it's very hard for him to get to that sideline. So you want to take that throw away. What Travis do is what they call putting cheese on it. He bites down and makes this quarterback think he's taking that. So the quarterback is like, oh, I got that wide open. And he shows his athleticism again. Boom, makes a great play. Like, this is just stuff that you can't teach. Now,
can he do that in the NFL?
That's exactly what's my next point. The difference between this and the NFL is Patrick Mahomes is throwing this ball.
Right.
Josh Allen is throwing this ball. So you can't really play around with it too much. Like, you can go out there and you can try to see how good you can be. And I encourage you to do it. That's something that you do in practice. It's something you do in the preseason. You try to see what you can get away with. But when you get to NFL game day, Sunday, regular season, you better get off of this, because these guys will make this throw and you won't get there in time. Like, a good quarterback is going to throw that and it's going to fly right past you. So that is something that he needs to work on. He's got to be more clean. I'm not telling him he's not going to be able to put cheese on things, but you got to be a little bit more clean. The risk, you can't take them like that. Next clip. All right, we got another cover 2 again. Now, this is great. He got some good feet. He got some good feet and good hips.
Like he got beat on the inside move, but then
no, he didn't. He ain't get beat.
That's not getting beat.
He ain't get beat on this side, because he's playing heavy inside. He's playing cover 2 because he's done his work. See, the thing about this play right here is, if you keep your eyes on the quarterback, I tell you all the time, look at the front tip. If you look at this quarterback's front tip, his eyes and his shoulders already facing this way. So Travis knows that I need to be inside. So this guy is thinking, if he runs this slant, I'm jumping this slant. Okay? Hold on, let me get that off. I can't get it off. It's froze.
Let me see it, Ty. Pass it. All right. So keep explaining it while I figure this out. You turn the.
Anyways, so that inside slant is already taken away right now. So that quarterback, let me see it. That receiver then wheels out, whips out, boom. I don't know if this was a planned route or not, because the way he looked like he wanted to go there, boom, he stops and goes in. Now, quarterback again is like, okay, He jumped the inside, but he did a really good job of playing this. This is where Travis Hunter, to me, plays like Marcus Peters, to where it ain't right, but he sees the ball. He plays the ball very, very well. He's not necessarily playing the man. He's playing the quarterback in the ball. So he's already gave the cheese that he's going with it. The quarterback thinks that this guy's open. He leaves his assignment and goes and makes a play. And like I say, this is stuff that you can get in trouble for doing this a lot. But
it's a hell of a play, though.
He makes a ton of plays. He makes up for other people's mistakes because, quiet as it's kept, them linebackers should have turned around and caught this. This is the linebacker's play. This guy right here. He's supposed to turn around and get that. But Travis just sees the ball, and he sees what the quarterback is doing, and he's making a play. Now, what I'll say is, this is what I was talking about on Tuesday, to where it's like, he can get away with these things in college because he's just a better athlete than all of these receivers. Mm-hmm. In the NFL, Jamar Chase, if that's Jamar Chase, you're not doing that. Like, you have to play Jamar Chase.
You're not leaving
Yeah,
Jamar
you're
Chase.
not about to just leave Jamar Chase because Joe's going to be like, okay, boom, he's going to zip it right to him. So those are the things to me that it kind of concerns me a little bit. I have to see him do it in the NFL. Not saying that it hasn't happened, because I say Marcus Peters was the guy that if you watch him, as I was in the NFL, they would say, do not watch Marcus Peters because what he does is wrong. But he led the league in picks because he would literally go rob something that had nothing to do with him.
So Peters would have a bunch of picks, but he'd get beat a lot too.
Because if the quarterback realizes, like, if I look him off or something, like, he's going to take off with it, and his dude is just wide open. So it's a lot of breakdowns. And then this one right here, this is just like a good two-man rep for you. Now, two-man for me, for a lot of people, is you take away the underneath routes. So you got your safeties who's going to probably be back here over the thing. Your job is to play underneath. If he runs a slant, you come underneath. If he runs an out, you go underneath. You basically play all underneath routes. And I could tell that's kind of how he was playing because he kind of lets the guy gets past him, and then, boom, he sinks underneath and takes everything underneath away. And this is just the ball skills. This is what makes, to me, why he's the best corner in this draft. It's because he has the ability to do that. I mean, the dude looks like a wide receiver. And I always say that picks is much better than pass deflections. If you're doing this, guys will leave you alone. And this is why, to me, he should be the number 2 pick for the Browns, and he should play. I know people is like, we had the conversation with G about would he be the starting corner. I'd probably put him at nickel, and I'd probably think about the G New thing, trading him at the deadline or on draft night to get more picks. Okay, we in the next play. Sorry about that.
And it's just, I put the 3, because you talked about press coverage.
Yes.
I just put 3 press coverage plays back to back.
Let me see. So I mentioned that he's a false stepper. So that, hold on, let me see if I can try to stop it right quick. All right, right there. You see how he takes this foot right here? That first step goes forward. That's called a false step. You're not supposed to do that. And he's an inch out guy. I was a step kick guy, meaning that I would step as soon as the receiver moved, I pick my foot up and put it back down. Because when you go up against a wide receiver, the first thing they're gonna do off the line is give you the shake. And you want to stay in there. You don't want to just bite everything. So you take that first step, pick it up, put it back down, just to give you a rhythm step, and then you kick out of it and let him declare what his route is. But in this case, he's doing an inch or scooch out technique, meaning that you press and you kind of back up, let him do his dance, and then he picks a side, and then you take off and go with him on the route. Boom. Good hand, good stab right there. He stays on top of the route. Like, that is so important to finish right there. Because right now, if the quarterback is looking right there, he's done. It's like, that guy's out of the play. I can't go there. I can't wait for you because I got Myles Garrett. I got all these good pass rushers, Michael Parsons. All these guys is coming after me. So if you're in this position, the quarterback's already moving on to the next assignment. So that is wonderful right there. What you seen the ball take off. Again, this time he goes inside. He probably need to work on that little kick a little bit on that inside. But nevertheless, he gets hands on him, and he stays underneath. That's a great way to finish on that route because now the quarterback has to put air on it. A lot of people don't realize that the 7 cut is one of the hardest throws for a quarterback to make because you're putting air on the ball and you're throwing it away to the sideline. To try to keep that in bounds is a very tough throw. Last one, little false step again at the top. Boom. I like that little got some little hands at the top.
That's what I wanted to ask
The hands at the top is what it is. You know,
Is he in danger of illegal contact and defensive holding and pass interference calls? Because he's really physical.
It all depends on who is the referee. To me, this is clean. Because the receiver's throwing his hands, he's throwing his hands. They're going to let you do the little pitter-patter thing. Like now he got to let go there. He got to let – anytime you tug the jersey, they're going to call it.
He's had a couple where I thought that's a flag in the NFL.
Yeah, if you tug the jersey like this, that's clean. That's clean. It's over. The route's over. The referee's not going to call it. This right here, right there, you got to let it go. Let it go. Let it go because they're going to call it.
The last one.
And then this one right – see, that's just the – see, he threw his arm. If he throw his arm, you're allowed to throw your arm.
The one before you got into the press coverages, I thought for sure that was a flag.
You go back, previous clip tie? Yeah. Or next clip?
After that. I think it's this one. That's a flag, is it not? I mean, he's
close.
10 yards down the field.
It's close.
He's jacking him 10 yards right there.
It's close.
How is that close?
It's close. No, because I would say they would call illegal contact. He would have to get coached out of that. If you're going to do that, just do it earlier.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you're going to be in a two-man anyways, you're supposed to let him beat you down the field.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be in a trail technique to be able to undercut it. This is something that, you're only going to get away with this in college. In the NFL, he would probably press up, let the guy beat him, and then you just undercut everything like that. So he could be coached out of that one. Okay. That's not that bad.
Ty, question after watching these, and great breakdown, by the way.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
I know more about defensive back play than I probably should, but he's clearly an incredible athlete. Like one-of-one athlete in college, probably the best guy athletically on the field every time he steps on the field. From what you've seen from his DB tape, Ty, is he going to get away with some of the stuff that he was in college because of how good of an athlete he just naturally was? Or is that not is it going to be more technique-based for him to have success at that position?
No, he's definitely got to work on this. He got to clean his technique up for sure. Like I said, the NFL, all you need is a small step. One little thing wrong, these guys will beat you on the route. And like I said, that's when I had the conversation on Tuesday where I was like, the only thing that scares me is that he played in the Big 12, not the Big 10, not the SEC.
Yeah.
You know, you look at those two as the top conferences, and you see some of the talent that he's gone against. It's like, yeah, you can get away with that because you're a better athlete than those guys. But if you were going up against skill for skill, a guy that's just as good as you, obviously the thing that makes a difference is your technique and your fundamentals. And for a guy who plays both sides of the ball, I was saying, like, he doesn't have enough time to perfect one thing. He's never tried to just perfect being a corner. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be little things that he slip up on, that little technique things that he don't have because he doesn't spend all day and night trying to figure those things out, because he's also trying to figure out how to be a really good wide receiver as well, which he's still got to clean some things up on that side of the ball.
What part of those two, and then Jason, you go, what part of those two play off each other? Like, if he helps improve and cleans up some of the little technique from a defensive back standpoint, would that also help him?
It would.
As a receiver?
You know why? Because it was the same thing that I did when I was playing receiver in high school. When you're, as a wide receiver, to make him succeed is that he knows what he's not good at. So I'm going to do it to you because I know if I can't do it, you probably can't do it. Yeah. So as soon as you turn your hips, boom, I'm ready to break out of my things too. So it would help him be a better wide receiver. As far as the DB goes, I got to say, if you're playing nickel, like, they would have to scheme it up in a way where, like, you're maybe a zone guy, or if we need you to play man, you're going to have the safety be a robber on the other side, like stuff like that, because it's not going to be perfect. Because if you're going to play DB in the NFL, you got to do it you know how many times I step kicked in my life? I used to sit in my hotel room and just do the technique over and over again, because you just need to be, it got to be crisp. It's got to be a thing that you can't think about. And for him, he's used his athletic ability to get away with a lot of things. And I'm telling you, in the NFL, it's not going to work. It's just not. You can try to sell like you got that, it's cover two and I'm about to just run with this. Like, you not about to come back. Patrick Mahomes is completing that ball, I'm telling you. Yeah. So you have to be on it. And I think that's just something that he'll learn in preseason and things like that. Overall, I still think I would take him with number 2, though.
Logistically, what meeting room is it more important for him to be in during the week?
Good question.
Offense.
Offense?
Yeah. Defense. Why? Because when you play DB, Jason, it's only 5 things that it can be. You either playing man-to-man, cover 2, cover 3, or cover 4. That's it. That's all it could be. Receiver, you got to know if I'm lined up this spot, I got this route. If the formation flips, you got to know this. It's a whole bunch of stuff that you got to know to where DB is not a lot of mental stuff. Like, but for offense, it is. Like, you got to know as a wide receiver, okay, this nickel's blitzing, so now I'm the hot player. Now my route changed. Like, you got to know these type of things where DB, that's not the case. Like, you tell me what the call is. We playing man-to-man. All right, cool. I got this man. That's all I need to know.
So if he's trying to do both, if he's spending the bulk of his time in the receivers room, how much time does he have to be in the DB room?
I mean, he just needs to know the communication.
Well, that's been a problem in Cleveland. That's kind of where I was going with it. Is how many times have we seen second breakdowns in the secondary because they're not in the right calls? You got one playing.
Jason, I don't know why it's so hard to come up with hand signals. Like, I really don't understand it. Like, what is this pride thing that we have in this secondary that we can't give a signal? So what that they know what we in? Who cares if they know what we in? The biggest question is, all of us on the same page? Because if that's the case, we are all talented enough to make them have to beat us. But if we giving them wide open touchdowns where guys are streaking down the field, like that's dumb to me. It is the one thing in football that upsets me more than anything. Coverage bust. I can't stand it. I cannot stand watching coverage bust.
Is there a higher risk of him being in the wrong coverage
if
he's not in the meetings?
No, because he'll benefit from a couple of things. One, the Mike linebacker is standing right there and he's going to tell him to call. Two, the safety's right behind him. He's going to tell him to call.
Hopefully.
I would think.
Hopefully.
You would think. He better.
And
he better. Because for the safety's sake, he need to know that this dude need to know this because he's helping me out. So he better tell him what he is.
Is it fair to say he's a better boundary corner than MJ Emerson right now?
No, that's not fair.
That's not fair?
No, that's not fair. That's not fair to say.
If you draft him too and think he's the best cornerback in the draft, he better be a better boundary corner than MJ.
That's not fair to say because MJ Emerson he literally just had one bad year. His first year was so great. Like, if you look at his completion, like what he gave up, like it was incredible. It was one of the top in the league. And then last year, he just kind of fell on his face because of I don't know what the heck happened to that kid. But I told y'all it was going to happen. I told y'all that it was something about him that they figured out the end of last season or 2 years ago that it was going to affect him last season. But now that this is a contract year for MJ, see, that's the thing. This is where I'm trying to figure out what the Browns. I'm trying to get the feeling for the Browns. We know that they want to pay one of their corners, right? Whether it's MJ or G.
Do we know they want to?
I feel like they do. Like, I feel like you want to pay one of them because maybe they ain't gonna break the bank, but you got to pay one of them.
What if it's Travis?
Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, you still got to pay the other one. If Travis is gonna play the boundary corner, who's playing nickel?
That's what I wanted to ask you.
If Travis is playing nickel, who's playing boundary corner? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to keep one of them, G. or Martin Emerson.
Well, they draft another one if they don't think either's worth the money.
It depends on the season that.
Yeah,
if MJ plays boundary corner this season, well, first of all, it ain't no boundary corners. It's left and right. Okay.
If he plays well, he's getting paid. If he doesn't, they're probably moving on.
College is because the hash marks.
Right.
See, in the NFL, the hashes is inside, so technically there's no field or no boundary. But if Martin Emerson plays that, what is he playing? Right corner. If he's playing right corner this season, and he has a good season, you have to pay him.
Yes.
Like, you have to. And you just let Travis be the guy who's athletic, who uses think about it, one of the most athletic persons in the secondary is the nickel because he has to be quick, twitchy, has to be able to come up and tackle.
And go both ways.
All those things. So he would actually be really perfect for that. He's just got to be willing to put his nose in there and make some tackles. That's the one thing that I worry about. If he's involved in the run game, which G. said that since Schwartz has come in, it's really helped them in the run game where the nickel don't have to be number one in the run game, which whatever that is. But it's going to come a time where they got to make some tackles against some really good running backs, especially in this conference or this division. He's got to make those tackles.
I don't think it's realistic. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's realistic to expect Travis Hunter to be a right cornerback, 70 plays, and a full-time offensive player.
That's why I will put him at nickel. Maybe you get some base. I mean, everybody runs 11 and 10 personnel nowadays, but just some
You're in nickel so much.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But sometimes you still might get Pittsburgh come out in 22 or 12 personnel, like, all right, that's at least one play he's off to oppose to the whole game.
I think he's more of a third down cornerback than your everyday nickel.
I don't know.
If he's going to play receiver, I don't think he'd be nickel just because of the wear and tear and tackling some point.
Well, that's. I know this is. It depends on the player. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can't answer this at all. How many plays off does he need to keep his wind and keep his legs?
I think it's impossible to predict because he did it in college at a race that we never saw before. Yeah. So
I mean, some of them play drives, when you get to like 10 play drives, like everybody on defense is gassed.
Yes, yeah.
So I would imagine for him, like if he plays wide receiver, it's not like he's in every single play. Like he'll be one of those guys that rotates in and blah 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 blah. So I think he'll naturally get a blow in the game. His blows just won't be that long. Like usually people need like 3-4 plays. Obviously when the offense go 3 and out, the defense is upset. But like, all right, at least you gave me 4 plays to get my breath. Yeah. For him, he might get like 2 plays off and got it rolled. But
it'll be
the thing is, he's conditioned to do it because he's done it in high school and in college. So it ain't nothing foreign to him.
It'll be fascinating to see how any team, potentially the Browns, use him on the next level because he's already done things we've never seen before at the collegiate level. The question is now, will it translate to the pros? And we're going to talk a little hoops, but first,
before we get to hoops, guys, there's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chance, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. And if you want to experience it all live, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets, plus ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer. So you can score amazing seats at a great price. I just checked the Game Time app, and you can get that Inter Miami Crew game for $73 a piece over at the Huntington Bank Field. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
It's a pretty good price on that, actually.
It is not a bad deal. The Cavs play tonight. Or at least the skeleton of the Cavs are playing tonight. No Don, no Evan, no Darius, and no Max Strus. So the Cavs,
Jared Allen is.
Jared Allen is playing. His quest to 82 is legit, but it's a game that means nothing to Cleveland. They are resting guys, preparing for the playoffs. So we're going to talk something else in the Cavaliers realm today, and that is the race for the DPOY. Jason and I touched on it a little bit on the Ultimate Cavs Show tomorrow. We're going to dive into some even more numbers that we didn't have yesterday. But first, before we do that, we got to hear Evan Mobley, who went on the Hoop Collective podcast campaigning for himself as to why he should be the DPOY. Now, before we play that clip, it's important to remember that when Victor Wembanyama got hurt, he was the prohibitive favorite to win the DPOY. Then he was announced he missed the rest of the season, and Evan Mobley and Jaren Jackson Jr. became the favorites. About a month ago, guys, Draymond Green went on his own podcast and said basically, I'm the DPOY, here's why vote for me, and now he is the heavy favorite in Vegas to become the DPOY. We disagree with the numbers, but Draymond went on and campaigned for himself. So this was Evan Mobley's retort and I guess his response to the Draymond Green campaign. He went on the Hoop Collective with Wendy. This is a minute clip from that podcast.
I'm Defensive Player of the Year. Whereas there's other guys out there going, I'm Defensive Player of the Year. But obviously your body of work speaks for itself. It's kind of awkward to say vote for me, but that's kind of where we're at now. Your team is 60 something wins and you've been great. Is it a little bit strange to say, hey, please respect my game?
Yeah, it definitely is. I like to let my job on the court really talk. I'm not really too much of a talkative guy, but I think I definitely deserve this award, just based on what we've been talking about this whole entire interview. And my defensive prowess, I feel like it's top tier from what I put out this whole season. And I'm going to keep doing that. And I really can't wait for the playoffs to up it even more.
So say what you want about Draymond Green. Very good defensive player. Maybe an elite podcaster, a much better self-promoter than Evan Mobley. Jason, when you look at the awards season and the awards circuit now for the NBA, it feels like it's becoming almost political campaign-esque. Is that good or bad for the league before we dive into some of the reasons that Evan Mobley should be DPOY?
No, it's terrible. Of course it's terrible. It should be based on merit on the court. But I said it earlier on UCSS. I said it on our Cavs show earlier this week. This is the hardest award to vote for in the NBA because you don't know what you're looking at. And it's hard for NBA writers to be able to declare what the Defensive Player of the Year is. When you're voting on MVP, it's a lot easier. Anybody can sit out and watch the full season of NBA games and have a pretty good grasp. You can look at the numbers and have a pretty good grasp of who the best players in the game are. You can argue, should it be Shea, should it be Jokic, but
Giannis.
Yeah, your boy Giannis.
He's going to finish top 5.
But you have a pretty good understanding. When you're talking about Defensive Player of the Year, some years it's guys who lead the league in steals. Some years it's guys who lead the league in blocks. And a lot of times, I think this is what you've seen this year, a narrative catches hold and takes off, and then that's just what the voters go with because it's really hard. It's such an ambiguous award to vote on. Somebody like Draymond, who's got a pretty big platform, who is great at public speaking, who has made a career off of it, can go out and state his case, and people go, yeah, that sounds pretty good. We'll go with Draymond. And Evan, I've said this a couple times recently, Evan has got to get better at promoting himself. He's got to get better at talking because he's only hurting himself. I know it's uncomfortable for him. It's obvious it's uncomfortable for him. We've seen it in person when he's at the podium after games and he's got to talk about himself. He doesn't love doing it. It's very commendable, but it's also costing him money. It's going to take money out of his pocket if he doesn't win this because of the contract bonuses that are involved that are tied to this because he's entering max status. He's got to get better at doing this and promoting himself. Ultimately, I don't have a vote anymore. When I covered the league full time, I did have a vote. If I did have a vote, I would vote for him. I think he's earned it. I think he's the guy. But, yeah, I mean, Mike pulled numbers that it's closer maybe than we originally thought. But to me, Evan Mobley's still a Defensive Player of the Year.
Ty, what do you make of this whole, I don't want to call it political campaigning, but self-promoting yourself, in the case of Draymond Green, that is now caught in fire and become a legitimate narrative and a chance that he's going to win the DPOY one. When we got heard, he was plus 3,000. Wasn't even on the board.
I think Jason's right when it comes to voting for. You get a vote?
Not anymore. I used to, but okay. I don't anymore.
I think you're right when you think about it because you think about like guys like Marcus Smart who won it, then it turned into Wemby because of the blocks, then Jared Jackson won it, all these things, and it's so different metrics. But the funny thing is, one thing that I always appreciate is consistency. You know, it's very seldomly I watch a Cavs game when I see Evan Mobley, just somebody giving him the business, especially in crunch time. And I turned on the game the other night.
Last night.
And I watched Draymond get cooked for 4 straight points.
In an important game.
By the Spurs.
In a very important game.
By the Spurs.
Very important
and
game.
I'm just like, how do y'all, and y'all gonna tell me that this is the, okay. But don't get me wrong. Draymond Green is probably a Hall of Famer because of his, how smart he is and how good he is on defense. He is great defensively overall in his career. But he's not changing the game like he used to me, in my personal opinion. Now, I'm not watching a lot of Golden State games. I can be fair saying that, but to me, it just doesn't come off the same way as it once did. Like back in the day, 2016, 17, like for sure he was that guy. But now, like Evan, literally, I've watched Evan win games with great defensive stops. He definitely need to get better with talking. I mean, boy, yeah, you need to come holler at me. I got you. I'll tell you how you supposed to.
He does need a little time to provide.
By the way,
because this is ridiculous.
He's gotten so much better.
Gee.
He has. From where he was a couple years ago, he is so much better.
Light years.
But he's still got a long ways to go.
I mean, he's stuttering. I'm like, I'd have been like, listen, as Evan Mobley, this is why I'm DPOY. Yes, I'm on the best team. We got one of the best records, but I've literally changed games. Like, people are afraid to come down to the paint because they know that I'm going to stuff it. All right? And if you try to put the ball on the ground, I'm checking anything from 1 through 5. It don't matter who you put on me. I'm still going to stop them and shut them down. That, to me, is what a Defensive Player of the Year is, and that's exactly what I've been doing this entire season. I have been the anchor for the Cavaliers this season, who is one of the best teams in the league. Therefore, I deserve Defensive Player of the Year.
That would have been better than what Evan said. And Evan's not a self-promoter. So I took it upon myself to put together the definitive case as to why Evan should be the DPOY. Channing Frye, former guest on this show. We have his bobblehead sitting behind Tyvis right there. Tweeted out last night, hey, someone got to make the cheat sheet. I need the cheat sheet because I don't have time to look through all the stats and compile them.
He works for the NBA. He's got researchers for that.
Well, he also has me because I had Shanning's email from when he came on. I sent him the email.
He's on NBA TV, right? He's on NBA.
He's on NBA TV. Yeah. He replied back and said, thank you, I'm going to use this. So if you hear Shannon Fry going over some stats for Evan Mobley's DPOY case, here they are. I have printed them out. I gave Jason a copy. I did. I gave Jason a copy. I gave Tyvis a copy. If you would like a copy of this so you can put it in your back pocket and carry it around, and if anyone happens to bring up the Draymond versus Evan conversation, you can have this little cheat sheet ready for you. I would be glad to send this out. So here is the definitive Evan Mobley DPOY case with even more numbers that I did not have yesterday when Jason and I went over this on the Ultimate Cavs show. And we have graphics to help back it up. First, let's take graphic number 1. The Cavs this season are 4.8 points per 100 possessions better defensively when Evan is on the court than when he is off the court, 4.8. The Warriors just 2.8 points per 100 possessions defensively when Draymond's on than when Draymond is off. So 2 points better per 100 possessions, Mobley over Draymond, 1 out of 1 advantage, Cleveland. Second graphic, whenever you're ready here, Steve. Let's look at some of the contests per game. Evan Mobley contests 10.4 shots per game. That's the second most in the NBA. That ranks number 2.
Who's first?
It was Wemby.
Okay.
That is the 81st percentile of block percentage and the 90th percentile in foul percentage. The higher the number in the foul percentage, by the way, better. So he contests a ton of shots, he blocks a ton of shots, and he does not foul. Pretty important, right? Draymond only contests 9.1 shots per game. That's according to Cleaning the Glass. He's in the 60th percentile in block rate, 21 percentile points lower among all qualified bigs than Evan, and his foul rate is 60%. 30 points lower than Evan Mobley. So he contests fewer shots, he blocks fewer shots, he's less effective when contesting shots, and oh, by the way, he fouls a whole lot more than Evan Mobley does. Pretty important, right? Mm-hmm. Number 3, let's go to the on-off ratings as a team. The Cavs' defensive rating when Evan Mobley is on the court this season, 108.6. That would rank number 2 in the NBA behind only Oklahoma City. When Evan is off the court, the defensive rating rises to 111.9. You want a lower defensive rating. The lower number, the better in this case. When Draymond is on the court for the Golden State Warriors, the defensive rating is 109 flat. When he's off the court, it's 110.4. So the difference between the on-court defensive rating and the off-court defensive rating for Evan Mobley is 3.3 points. For Draymond, it's just 1.4 points. Almost triple as high at Evan as it is for Draymond Green. Next graphic, Steve, let's keep on rolling. How about the case that gets made against Evan that he plays with Jared Allen? That should help, right? He's got another elite defender next to him. Well, the Cavs' defensive rating drops by 1.1 points when Mobley's on the floor and Jared Allen's on the bench. So Mobley and Allen together is great. When Allen comes off and Mobley's the primary rim protector, the defensive rating drops 1.1 points.
Which is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Drops makes it sound like it's bad. It's good.
Yes.
You're saying so they go from
No. It goes up.
Oh, okay.
It's not as good. So it really increases. I'm saying it. I put the word drop. It actually increases. They are worse when Evans and Allen aren't on the court together.
Yes, it's better when it's just Mobley by himself.
No. It's better when they're together. It shouldn't be the word drop. It increases.
Oh, you got me confused now. Go ahead.
Mike and I did go over this before the show. Didn't catch it.
Okay. Well, I said drops. It gets worse. So technically the number increases, but
all right. I got you now.
It drops in the rankings.
I got you now.
The Cavs are at their best defensively when Allen and Mobley are on the court together. The defensive rating technically goes up because the higher number's worse. So I said drop, but whatever.
You struggling with that?
No, I got it now.
You get it now?
I got it now.
For the Warriors, Steve, take that back. That's 1.1. So the difference is 1.1.
Yeah.
When Draymond's on the court and Jimmy Butler's not, their defensive rating goes up 5.4 points. So I used the word drop, but that is technically going up. You don't want it to drop.
Yeah.
1.1 for Evan without Jared Allen, 5.4 for Draymond without Jimmy Butler. So why are we going to criticize Evan Mobley for saying he plays alongside another elite rim protector and Jared Allen helps? Well, when Jimmy Butler's not on the court alongside Draymond Green, that is a significantly, almost 500% bigger rise than it is with the Cavs.
Before you go on, you already sent this to...
Channing Frye has this. I'll text him back and clarify when I say drop that I mean it is technically an increase. It's like golf. You want to score, like high score lower or whatever.
Next have him go on the NBA TV.
Well, it does technically drop in the rankings. It goes up in the numbers.
I got you now.
Next one, Steve. Let's take it. These are the traditional stats. Rebounding, big part of playing defense, right? A defensive possession doesn't end without a rebound. Evan, 9.3 per game. Draymond, 6.1. Blocks, Evan has the advantage, 1.6 versus just 1 a game for Draymond. Draymond does have the advantage in steals, 1.4 over 1.9. In terms of rebounding talent, B-Ball Index looks at the 419 qualified players in the NBA that have played enough minutes in terms of the rebounds they grab, the difficulty of which they grab it, and the frequency of which they grab it. Out of the 419 players qualified in defensive rebounding this season, according to B-Ball Index, Evan Mobley ranks 53rd. Draymond ranks 301st. Quite a difference. Defensive win shares, which is a whole metric you have to look at, lower once again where you want to be, Mobley over Draymond. And last graphic here, Steve. These are the super advanced nerdy stats that are graded in percentiles. Higher percentile, better. Lower percentile, worse. Rim protection, Evan 96th percentile per B-Ball Index, Draymond 91.
So you want to be? You say you want to be higher?
Higher is better. Higher is better. Rim contest, 92nd. Draymond 61st. Rim deterrence, which is a stat that I'm not exactly sure how it is graded out on a game-by-game basis, but essentially deterring guys from taking shots around you. Draymond ranks number 1 in the NBA, so Draymond gets the advantage in there. But Evan's in the 98th percentile. It is a minimal difference. Draymond may be the best at that, but what he's best at, Evan is still right there. Not necessarily as good according to the B-Ball Index tracker, but right in that same conversation. In terms of rim points saved, Evan in the 92nd percentile, Draymond in the 85th. And then in terms of their overall help defense effectiveness, Draymond ranks once again number 2 in the NBA in the 99th percentile. Evan number 5 in the 98th percentile. The stuff Draymond may do slightly better than Evan, Evan is right there to help continue the Cavs' incredible defense. And I know wins and losses don't really make a difference, right? It's wins and losses. That is not an individual stat, but I do think if you're in a tiebreaker situation, overall team success should play a factor, right? Mm-hmm. The Cavs, well, they're 63-16. They've clinched the 1 seed in the East. The Warriors are 47-33. They're currently in the play-in, and they could be a road team in the first round of the play-in because they are half a game ahead of the 8 seed. And this whole narrative that Golden State is surging of late, it's not true. You know what both teams' record are in their last 25 games?
Wait a minute.
You know what their records are in the last 25 games, Tyvis? They're both 19-6.
That's surging compared to 47-33.
I don't care. You can't say one's collapsing and one's surging. They're both 19-6.
They've been significantly better with Jimmy. That doesn't necessarily help Draymond's case.
Were they just on like a 5 or 6 game win streak?
No, they lost last night to the Spurs, and they've fallen into the play-in game. So there you have it. Draymond is a good defensive player. Evan, if you want these numbers, I'll change the one word from drop to increase, even though you guys should have been able to pick up on what I was saying. Put this in your back pocket. That'll save you from a lot of arguments. But Evan Mobley is your 2024-2025 Defensive Player of the Year. I stand by my case.
What about Jaren Jackson? Where is he?
Been hurt too much.
Okay. And so it's on the right now. If you look up the odds, Draymond's first, Evan second,
and Lou Dort's third.
The Dortch Chambers.
And if someone wants
it really only works against Donovan.
No, he's been incredible this year. If someone wants to make the case for Lou Dort as the best defender in the NBA, I will hear them out. I will absolutely hear them.
So you take Lou Dort over Draymond?
I'd have to do a deep dive into some of this stuff, but they play different positions, so it's harder to get the side by side comparison. But Jason, any final thoughts on Mobley for DPOY? If he's not going to campaign, we're going to campaign for him.
That was really well done. And I'm going to steal this and write it in The Athletic.
Take it.
Make sure you put increase.
It wouldn't be the first time.
I won't use that.
Drop.
I heard that. See that little knife twist he got it on me?
What'd he say?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Okay.
All right, we got one last topic. Let's get to it today.
Yeah, before we get to our last topic, guys, I just want to remind everybody to like and subscribe to the channel to make sure you know when all of our shows go live, all of our spinoff shows, all of our post-game shows, and all of our breaking news shows that Mike usually hosts. It helps support us. Everything you guys do is great to help support us. Just like and subscribe.
We appreciate you guys. All right, Tyvis and Jason, ESPN put out an article yesterday. Our friend of the show, Daniel Oyefusi, and Jeremy Fowler contributed to this report. And they asked some guys around the NFL about Deshaun Watson's future. And we got a very different answer from an NFL executive and an NFL agent. And then after that article came out, Deshaun put out an Instagram post, which maybe it was a response to it. Maybe it wasn't. We'll hear it. We'll play the Instagram clip.
What is this about?
But first, let's hear from the NFC executive on Deshaun Watson. Steve, if you want to take the tag board full, or the quote full, I will read this for you guys. An NFC executive told ESPN, "If released, I don't see anyone picking Deshaun up." And then down the road, the question will be, will he take low quarterback money? Would he even be motivated to play at that point? The executive went on to say that he believed Deshaun Watson would never play a snap in the NFL again. ESPN also asked an NFL agent what they thought about Deshaun's future. This is what the NFL agent told ESPN. Quote, "The league is forgiving with quarterbacks that have exhibited high-level talent. There is a shortage of good quarterback play. That's why I think a team could take a chance on Deshaun if he proves healthy. Some owners could have a problem with that because of the past, but not all," end quote. That article went up and got a ton of engagement on social media. Deshaun got tagged a bunch in it, I happened to see in the
Do they
comments.
block everyone that tagged him?
I cannot confirm nor deny that. But Deshaun put out an Instagram post yesterday that may be a response to this, may not be. I have no idea. But here is the Instagram post. It's about a minute long. Deshaun posted that. I guess we're going to decide if it's a response to this or not.
You know, the performance comes when, you know, your back is against the wall. It comes better because you kind of got to really lock in. You know, you don't have anything pretty much to lose. And I feel like that's where I'm at right now. You know, everyone's doubting me. You know, everyone don't believe in me. Everyone don't think that I can get back to where I was. But I know and I believe the work that I put in, what I believe in myself, the peace that I've been, you know, channeling these last couple months, I know I'm going to be way better than before. I'm prepared. And I think before I wasn't prepared because, you know, I was kind of going with the flow of how the world was seeing me. But, you know, when you kind of get knocked down to the ground and you got to stand back up and walk through the rain, that brings out another fire, another challenge, another grit that you have inside. And the biggest thing is really just mental. My mentality, the things that I got to deal with the outside and not taking everything personal like I mentioned before. Taking everything and just bringing it full force and really just standing in front of it face to face. The challenges, the adversity, whatever comes with it, gonna come with it. But as long as I'm doing it my way, I'm cool, I can live with that.
So Tyvis, that was Deshaun's post. Before we debate whether or not his future is in vain, or not in vain, but is in play in the NFL, do you think that was a direct response to that article that then started circulating like wildfire?
No, I don't. I think the timing of it makes it seem that way, but obviously he obviously had it recorded before that, so therefore you can't say that it's a direct response. I told you, Deshaun is one of those. I've only known the guy. I only knew the guy for a week, but Deshaun's just one of those guys that he is just like a Hollywood type of guy. Like, he always got the guys recording his sessions because he loves to put these videos out. And believe it or not, and whether people want to hear this or not, his story, as far as not the allegations, not all of that part.
His upbringing.
Not that part either. Just the fact that he had it all and then lost it all. And now he's trying to find a way to get back up. If he makes it to another NFL team and just remotely plays well, that's a very good motivational story for people out there. So that to me is where he's at. He's so motivated to trying to get back on the field because in his mind, he thinks he could be better than what he was. So when I look at these posts, I don't really think it's a direct response to a lot of things because of the fact that when you talk about the production and him shooting all this happened months ago. This happened weeks ago. And somebody cut it all up and he just decided to push sin at that time. So to me,
we're all in agreement then.
Yeah.
This was definitely not a response. Yeah. Jason, in response to the quotes, do you side more with the executive who said not going to play again or side more with the agent?
The agent.
This is hard because I've been pretty firm, I think, without even trying to be, just sort of
he's done.
That he'll never take another snap in the NFL. But he certainly looks like he's motivated to get back. And he has to, I mean, he's made his money.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely taking a cut.
So, big time.
Yeah, he might be veteran. He might be vet minimum for
probably,
sure. Because we're the ones doing you the favor. You're not doing us the favor. We're doing you the favor.
But if there were, I think it was 11 teams who were interested when he was radioactive coming off all the allegations. There were still 11 teams who wanted him. and it got down. I think if I recall correctly, it was Carolina, Cleveland,
Atlanta,
New Orleans, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Were the 4 finalists. But New Orleans still doesn't have a quarterback. We'll see if they take Shedeur.
They probably will.
Atlanta, he could go home to Atlanta. I wonder if they would.
They got MPJ, Michael Penix.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to go into a backup role, more than likely.
You think he's the perfect guy to back up Penix?
No. And that's what it has to be an organization that says it's going to be a headline. It's going to be a lot of questions. We have to push through that. We have to get through that. And it has to be an organization who believes that he won't be, I hate the word distraction, but, I mean, that's a pretty high-profile backup quarterback.
It'll have to be a team that's got a bona fide guy. Like, he got to go back up Mahomes or something like that. Josh Allen. It got to be something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we know that the only way you get on the field is if that guy is hurt. You ain't beating him out or none of that. We just need, in case he get hurt, we just need a guy that can get us through the game.
Or a spot like New Orleans where the job's looks like it's open.
He would have to whenever he gets healthy and whenever his time with the Browns is done, I told y'all the last time we spoke about this, he will have to work out for teams. Because
for sure.
the team, it's not going to be, that's Deshaun Watson, let's just bring him in and sign him. I need to see you. So if y'all don't know, for the people that go undrafted, okay, you fighting for your life and you getting cut, these things that's called tryouts, okay? And at these tryouts, they bring in 5, maybe 10 people. Maybe 4 of them is in your position. Some could be linebackers, some could be quarterbacks, some could be receivers. A bunch of guys that they bring in for tryouts. And you go through a bunch of drills and they see where you at, they see how you move, and they give you stuff to see if you can handle it. If you go try out for the Houston Texans, you're going to do the combine all over again, and it's unbelievable. 40, high jump, broad jump, vertical, all that. You're doing literally the combine over, so the Texans is crazy for doing that. But anyways, Deshaun will have to be one of those guys that they're going to bring him in with probably 4 other quarterbacks because they're going to be looking to sign somebody, maybe for practice squad, maybe they dealt with an injury, whatever the case may be, and he's going to have to beat out 3 to 4 other guys and show that he's better than that. And they're going to have to see the Achilles got to be great. He's able to move around in the pocket. He's going to have to be able to throw some of these passes on time and deep. Like this is the things that he's going to have to go through. And if he can't show that he's improved in those areas or that's not going to be a concern, he won't get signed.
I actually think the shoulder is as much or more of a concern than the Achilles because he never and that was such a weird shoulder injury. There wasn't a lot of history on quarterbacks having it, and he never looked like the same guy post-shoulder injury that he did pre-shoulder. Now, maybe with more time off, I don't know. But that the shoulder to me is a bigger question than the Achilles.
Told Earl, and I swear, with Earl as my witness, I may have told Ant too. He threw an out route in the preseason. They played the Packers. Didn't he play one drive against the Packers?
No, he didn't play at all.
He didn't play in the preseason.
It was the first game of the season. Threw an out route, whatever. It was like the first out route he threw, and it was completed, and it was completed by like that much, and it just got past the DB. Tried to undercut it. It was like a 7. It wasn't a deep pass, and I told Earl, I go, bro, his arm ain't right. It ain't right. And it took one pass to see that it came out of his hand. We do the zip versus no zip conversation a million times. It's like, all right, he can't drive the football. And as the season progressed and we saw more and more deep throws, and I think, Jason, you did the whole one about against Dallas, those deep passes weren't just slightly missing.
He was throwing 7 yards out of bounds.
He was throwing, and into the stands closer than to those receivers. And you could just tell that, as a quarterback, your arm's a pretty important part of the equation.
Yeah.
Now he's got the double Achilles injury. Is the shoulder right? Are his feet right? Is his ankle and Achilles right? A lot of things have to come together. But to the agent's point, a guy with a pedigree that he has and the success in this league that he has had is going to get opportunities other guys wouldn't. And if he is healthy, I can see a situation where he gets at least a tryout or at least a shot to prove
he can
still
tryouts.
be a player in this league.
He would be a guy. He would be perfect for it now. He's a guy that you bring in now. OTAs. Let me see what you look like in OTAs.
Yeah. Like he's going to get a
or
shot.
If I need you in preseason, we were running 4 quarterbacks, put him in preseason. Like that, he's perfect for that. A 90-man roster for sure. Because now you'll get a chance to see him, evaluate him. going up against good talent. And if he's able to do that, then yeah, you'll be comfortable with him as a backup for sure.
Not all 32 teams are going to want him. There's going to be teams that absolutely, under no circumstances, will not touch him.
That's a fact.
You only need one to take a chance on you. But
I think he'll get like 3 or 4 teams that'll be in.
Earl texted me. It was the first over versus Dallas. I literally texted him after the first over versus Dallas and said, "This don't look right."
The big thing with Deshaun right now is the contract. He still has a year left after this.
Yeah.
And how do you navigate that? I think he's taken his last snap for the Browns.
Oh,
I'm pretty confident about that.
If he's going to take a snap, it will not be for Cleveland.
But they've got to navigate this last year on this contract, and right now as we sit here, I don't know what the answer is to that.
You talking about he got to sit out this season and next season?
And he's under contract for 2 more years, so there's 25 and 26.
They could buy him out after this season, and it's
still a monster cap.
It's less than it was for Russell Wilson.
Sure,
but it's still a giant cap.
It's a huge
like
number.
76, right? 72, 76, something like that.
I thought it was in the 80s.
80s?
I thought.
Oh, it was 84.
What was Russell's?
It was 85. I'll look it up. And when we start doing super chats, I'll look this up. So yes or no, Deshaun, will he play a snap in the NFL again?
I believe so.
Yes?
I'll say, play a snap or get signed by a
Yeah,
team.
what
Those
do you
are
mean?
two different
Play
conversations.
over under 1 snap again in an NFL game.
No.
In a regular season?
Over under 1 snap.
No, I don't think so.
So the over under set at half.
He may get a look from teams. He may get.
That is the chances is slim. Like he'd have to impress in tryouts, do well in OTAs or preseason, get the backup role, and then get an injury.
Yeah.
That's kind of his path.
All right, when you put it that way, I'm going to take the under then.
Huh?
I'm going to take the under then. Because so many things have to go right for him to get in a situation, coming off the double Achilles, coming off the shoulder, coming off the mental stuff. I'm going to take the under. I don't feel good about it, but I'm taking the under.
I like a good underdog story. I'm going to take the over.
All right, let's do super chats. I'm going to look up the dead cap number on the show.
Yeah, before we do super chats, bad job out of me. I had a winning FanDuel ticket today from our friend over on Twitter at C-Dubs. They put $5 on, and Parlay won $314 out of it. So congrats, C-Dubs, on your winning ticket.
It's a hell of a win.
I don't know how many legs it is. It doesn't say.
I know, but he won it with 8 minutes and 43 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So whatever he did a damn good job. Shout out to CW.
My goodness, look at those odds.
All right, our first one up, Topo42 renewed their 12-month membership, and they said, Lloyd, no joke. Don't drive after getting knocked out. The drug can still be in your system. Had it happen to me. Couldn't remember where I was the day after.
Well, we survived.
I did drive Jason back to his car Tuesday night.
You drove down after they told you not to do that?
Yeah.
He told us the whole story at the beginning of the show.
Why would you do
That was fine.
Topo, thank you for that advice, though. Jason will not listen to anybody. We appreciate the advice.
Jason is wild, man. I'd have been like, you could have went to the game. You could have somebody take you to the.
I'm fine.
I mean, you here today to tell the story, so it must have went well.
All right, what's the next one?
The next one comes from Stephen Royer. I personally think if a stadium or owner receives a single dollar of tax money to help pay, there should be a cap on all general admission tickets.
That's not bad.
I like the idea.
That's better than the idea that the idiot politician said about it has based on a winning record over a 5-year period. That was.
We intentionally did not talk about that because that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
But that's not bad.
Who put that idea in there?
Cap on
That's
ticket
from
price.
Stephen Royer.
Stephen Royer, that's a great idea.
$1,000. All right, the cap $1,000.
I mean, then you got to come up with what the cap is. And that's a little bit more of a nuanced conversation. Second apron on ticket pricing.
All right, last one from DBDog21 says, I'll say it again. The national sports media doesn't want any superstars or potential superstars in Cleveland.
That's not true.
Shedeur is a great fit for every team but Cleveland.
That's not true.
Kellen Moore, great for him, but Kevin Stefanski isn't. It's BS.
Hold on, real quick. Louis Riddick said that. Louis Riddick is friends, very, 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 very good friends with Deion Sanders. Like, this is not national media spewing it. This is
all a conspiracy.
One of Deion's closest friends going on national TV and saying that. Plus, who doesn't want Travis Hunter here? Travis Hunter is considered by every mock draft, every big board I've seen, to be a top 2 player, top 3 player in this draft. That Shedeur's not in that same conversation.
He's a blue
so to say
chipper.
that they don't want Cleveland to have superstars.
I'm so tired.
That's asinine.
I'm so tired of the woe is us, woe is me, nobody likes. It's such nonsense drivel. And somebody show me where it says, where somebody writes, he would be terrible in Cleveland, he would be great for New York. I've yet to see it. It's about personal taste of who's running those organizations and if you like the guy or not. We just talked about Deshaun. Some teams will not touch him under any circumstance. Others would say, yeah, we'll take the chance. Some teams will look at Shedeur's film and say, nope, not for us. Other teams look at him and say, yeah, we like him. That doesn't mean somebody on the outside is saying he would be terrible here and great here. That's the decision made by the organizations.
You a Nagy's fan, right?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Shamar Stewart?
Oh, Aggies. Yeah. Aggies, yeah. Incredible athlete. I can't believe he only had like 6 sacks in his career.
I'm looking at that right now.
Incredible athlete.
He has 4.5 sacks.
5-star kid out of high school.
And you mean to tell me this kid about to go first round?
He is.
You got to be kidding me.
All the crazy physical traits. His quarterback hurries.
He averaged 1.5 sacks every year.
Yeah.
Every year he had 1.5 sacks, 3 straight years. And he gonna go first round.
My guy Nick Scouton, the other Aggie, who grew up in college, I've known him since high school, played middle linebacker at Bryan High School, was in town for a top 30 visit yesterday. And he texted me on the way out. You all right, Jason?
Yeah, I'm good. I got pee so bad.
He's getting ready.
I'm getting ready.
20 seconds. But, yes, both the A&M pass rushers. I think
that's wild to me. 4.5 career sacks, and he gonna go first round.
Well, when you're 6'5", 280, and run as fast and jump as high as he can, you got a chance.
I ain't hearing that.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up.
See you in overtime.
Jason's got a piece, so we're going to overtime. See you in 3 minutes.